Hey there, welcome to Killer POV, episode number 58, live from Texas Frightmare. How cool is that? I'm Rob G, one of your co-hosts from FEARNET and Icons of Fright. With me,
Elric Kane.
Intro yourself.
I'm Elric
Boom.
Kane, and this podcast is cheaper than a chainsaw and a nail gun.
Holy
And that is for those who get it.
That's
Who
right.
get
If
it.
you were here, you probably got it.
You'd get that.
And
Rebekah McKendry from Fangoria.
Our
and
sponsor.
It wasn't enough to say you're from Fangoria. She had to have a giant
I built a booth
built a
around
booth.
giant
me.
sign behind her head.
I have
All
a
for
giant
you.
Fangoria booth behind me.
it's amazing.
But we're actually broadcasting from the Alamo booth.
Yes.
Right. Alamo Draft House
We've
booth.
taken over a fourth of their table to
Yep.
podcast, and they've been really cool
'Cause
about it.
Very cool.
The Fango booth was pretty crowded. We had a lot going on there this weekend.
Yeah. So
So-
it's been pretty hectic, but we managed to sit down with a few people over the course of the weekend. That was really cool. So this show is going to be kind of an amalgamation of all those interviews.
Yeah, I think there's
Yes.
4 interviews coming up.
4.
And a really in-depth one with Chris Alexander.
Yes,
of
which was
Fangoria.
the live one that we did.
Mhm.
That was an interesting experiment. doing it
Huge
live.
crowd. Huge crowd.
That was a big crowd. It's very different. Well,
they
because we
loved
weren't.
us here.
We'll post a picture of the 6 people that
I
were
did. I posted of 2 people, but no, we're doing it without headphones, and it's less intimate. And I think part of our show is the intimate, the fact that we are all looking at each other and able to say whatever we want in a small space.
Yeah.
But this has been a lot of fun, and I've learned a lot, being my first big con, about who the horror fans of America are, especially what movies go to number one.
Yeah,
Makes
because
a lot more sense.
this is your first.
Yeah, you
experience
get in
of
an
this sort.
elevator at a con like this, and you hear people talking about movies, and they're like, "Yeah, I love that chainsaw movie," or whatever. And it's very simple, and they love the movies. It's not about analyzing the movies. It's not necessarily everyone who would listen to this, where
Right.
we go so in depth. It's just a general love, and it's families, whole families,
Yeah.
and little kids. You know, it's
Hey,
been very
people,
different for me.
I see Christy Jett. She's
There is
right
Christy
behind
Jett,
us.
Name drop on the show.
Yeah, I
but
mean, right now there's a lot of people in my eye line. Right now I'm looking across at the hitchhiker, Edwin Neal from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which kind of blows my
Right.
mind.
I ate barbecue with him once.
Very cool.
It's very
Wow.
awesome.
But yeah, it's would you do it again, a live show?
Yeah, I mean, we could do another one at some point.
Yeah.
It's a little exhausting at a convention that's not local to us,
Yeah.
you know, but it's interesting. And I do want to do a convention episode at some point because we've never gotten the chance to talk about that whole experience.
I also think that it might be better if we had done it on the first day. We did it at like afternoon on Sunday, and by
Yeah.
this time I'm fucking toast.
Yeah,
I'm
everyone's
gone.
pretty exhausted.
It's pretty tough. I mean, yeah, keeping your energy level up. I feel like really famous reporters because we're all just standing on the floor.
Yeah, we're the
Yes,
only ones doing
yes,
this.
we look very formal right now. People
Yeah.
keep taking pictures of us. Oh, I'm signing autographs right now. Look at me. Yeah.
That's called sarcasm, folks, just in case you didn't get it.
And you saw a short film here, but that's about it, right? We didn't
Oh,
see
yeah,
any features.
I caught Shannon Lark's short film,
Mhm.
I Am Monster, which is very erotic and naughty.
Ooh,
I liked it.
hello.
I liked it. Yeah.
All right, we might be showing that somewhere
Oh.
in Studio City soon. Let's
Eh,
hope.
oh.
I asked him last night.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, so we'll keep it short and sweet because obviously we've got a ton of content coming up. 3 different. Well, let's surprise them.
Yeah,
Who's-
we got a
who's
couple of good
next?
people.
Who's next? You'll have
I
to
wonder.
wait and see.
Who?
Who is next?
You're next? No,
You're next.
not you.
Not me.
I wonder.
She's next.
She's
next.
next. She's
Yes.
next.
Yes.
Enjoy the show, and we will see you back in a normal episode
Yes.
coming up. Hope you enjoy it.
All right.
G'day, mate.
G'day, mate.
Struth cover.
Struth, crikey.
So let's talk about John Jarrett.
Oh, wow, you're good.
Yeah, mad, you
Wait,
bastard.
Are we recording?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, because that was number one. We want you to judge Elric's
She
Australian.
just
Was
did.
that
I think
good?
she said that was good.
It was pretty good, right?
That was ingenious,
See?
actually.
There you go.
Don't
That's one of the
encourage him.
best. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
That was one of the
I'm
best
better
I've
than
heard.
most Australians. You know? I'm more Australian than Shane Warne.
Wow,
Warnie.
that fooled
Warnie.
me. Warning.
Warnie.
You are.
No, but even my Kiwi accent isn't real anymore. It's all
not.
messed up.
My mom thought you
Lord
were
of the Rings
British.
is the best movie ever. That's all I keep saying. That's the only New Zealand I know now.
Okay, so
Cool.
we're sitting here with Sharni Vinson. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to Texas Frightmare
Thank
and
you.
Killer POV.
Yes.
The first question is obviously we all want to know what it's like to make out with AJ Bowen.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I know. It happened.
And
it's
what
not,
was it
it's,
like?
it's not as bad as you'd think.
Really? Becca's
Really?
actually really interested.
Okay, yeah, because he's been on our show a number of times. He's kind of like a fave of ours to come on the show. Yeah. What's it like making out with AJ?
No, I'm kidding. It was actually a pleasure, to be honest. I know it sounds weird. He's married. I shouldn't really say that. But the reason it was so easy is just because he's like my best friend, which is kind of weird. But I had never kissed someone with a beard before.
Hey,
He was my first
There's still
fluffy kiss.
This time.
we all have beards now, just so everyone knows.
Yep. Yep.
Throwing that
Even
out there.
Rebekah.
Yes, I'm getting furry, guys. It's been a rough weekend.
Does he actually do any of his lines, or is it all improvised? I'm just assuming.
Yeah, we just assume he shows up and it's.
I thought that he had to have like somebody off right off set just feeding him lines the whole
Right.
time. So.
like Brando.
He's so good at putting his own little spin on it, and it's for the best. I mean, the movie was very well written, thanks to Simon Barrett, but it was so open to interpretation with what we were allowed to encourage with our characters and add with dialogue and take out. And I think that in my experiences, like in my history of acting ever, I've never done a scene where I have been more affected by an actor than when AJ and I shot the final big 3-page, 4-page, whatever it was, monologue in the end of You're Next, where he comes out and does the big speech, which he actually did have a lot of input, and he added little funny lines like maybe a honeymoon or whatever
Right.
Some
he
of the
said.
fun
And
stuff.
yeah, so he had his own little AJ quirks in there, which is what really worked. And I'd never once looked at his lines, so the first time he said them was the first time I heard them, and then that was done.
Wow.
So let's talk about some of AJ's earlier films. I assume that's what we're here for. Oh, you're an actor too. This is great. What was it like coming from? I mean, the difference between coming from Australia and going into Your Next. Was Your Next the first American film, or was it Step Up?
Step Up was the first American film, and then I followed that on by Blue Crush 2.
Okay.
Then I
right.
shot Bait in between, which was the Australian movie.
Kind of, right?
You
Those
know.
accents.
Kind of Australian.
With the accent, it's Australian, American, Chinese. It's all
Right,
of it.
right.
Yeah,
People don't know there's a
little
whole.
hard to tell.
There's a Chinese version of Bait floating
really?
out there.
Are you
People
serious?
haven't even seen it.
I need to see it.
For those who
I
haven't
love
seen
Bait.
Bait, it involves a shark
Sharks,
in
plural.
in a,
dear.
yes, in
There's
a
more than one.
supermarket. It's a supermarket, right?
The supermarket.
Yeah.
Very, very good
Flooded
accent.
supermarket from what, a tsunami?
That's right.
Yeah.
Sold.
It's surprisingly wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean,
Rebecca's
yeah.
actually in her aquatic phase
I
right now. where
am.
they're
I've been
watching
going
these kind
through
of
an
movies.
aquatic horror phase.
Really?
So
Nice.
yeah, we've been rewatching shark movies and all of our old late 80s, early 90s aquatic horrors.
Yep.
I fucking love Bait. It's
Yeah.
great. Sharks in grocery stores. You
Well,
know what you're gonna get.
You know
it's
what?
wonderful.
If you think that that was kind of unpredictable, well, check out the Chinese version. I actually dance in 3D and I battle
Whoa.
the #1 martial arts ninja in China.
How the hell does this get worked into
Really?
the plot?
You have to see it to believe it.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I don't believe it. Do
Is
you?
that in the Chinese version
It
of
is
Your
on
Next?
YouTube. You can actually
Because I
check
want
it
to see
out.
that Your Next. That's the best Your Next ever.
we had it running up on YouTube yesterday because people weren't believing it. So we had the actual whole Chinese version of Bait running yesterday. It was pretty funny.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
But was there much of a difference coming between working on an indie American film like Your Next versus, say, Bait? Just, I mean, obviously budgets are different.
The big difference was going from Step Up and Blue Crush and Bait were all like big budget films, and then Your Next was a very small budget, and I'd never come into the middle of America before, and landed in Missouri, and here you are at the most gorgeous 1-star motel on the side of the freeway, and you're seeing great people come in and out of there. It's a bit nuts, and we did the whole schedule night shoots. I didn't see daylight for 4 weeks, so it was kind of interesting. We really almost lived the whole thing. The low budget thing works for me. I like it. I am from Australia, and I can slum it, I can camp, I can do whatever, and I don't need no 5-star motel. I just need to shoot the movie, and that actually put us in such a great headspace for what was required of the film.
Yeah, you guys didn't sleep at that house, did you? The big house?
No,
Okay.
no, we slept at the beautiful
the motel next
1-star
door.
motel.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's
right in
gorgeous.
the middle of Missouri.
That's right.
Was it weird? Because I mean, some people won't know this, but there was a huge delay between when the film got bought and the buzz was off the charts at Toronto, right?
Yeah.
And then, what was it, like 2 years?
2011, September, Toronto, 2011.
And it didn't get released until
this year.
Yeah,
Until last year.
2013.
Especially-
Until August 2013.
Yeah.
Well, especially for you, because, I mean, everyone who saw it at the start, I mean, your name was the thing that a lot of people were talking about, saying this was a star turn and, this really set the tone. That must be weird for people to be telling you that, but then no one can see the movie.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how frustrating it was for myself. Also for Adam Wingard and Simon Barrett. I felt like the three of us were actually in the similar boat there.
Yeah.
In knowing that we had a wonderful product that we believed highly in and we were very proud of, and it was getting such an amazing response, and we just wanted it to get out there so that we could then continue our working and move forward and have our name out there. And yeah, the 2-year delay has been like the 2-year delay from hell,
Yeah.
you know, where
Yeah.
you sit there knowing you've got something to show and people can't see it until 2 years. So you almost sit there twiddling your thumbs just waiting. So it's been a horrible waiting game.
But then, I mean, it finally came out, right? So that must have been rewarding, too.
Yeah, it finally came out, and that was very rewarding. You know, the movie did very well. I think it could have actually performed better with different marketing. I don't think it was necessarily marketed in the sense of what the movie truly is, but then again, there was reasons for that too. We didn't want to blow the cover and ruin all the surprises. It is a better movie if you go in actually having no idea what to expect, and that is the way they tried to keep it, you know. However, on a more commercial level, I think if people realised that there was going to be a twist to this and the girl was going to stand up and fight, we might have pulled a bit more mainstream crowds in too.
Well, yeah, we were saying when it came out, it's like if I had a daughter and I'd seen the trailer that played, I wouldn't have taken her.
Correct.
But if I'd seen what the movie's about, I'd go, hell yes.
That's
I want
right.
you to learn from that girl.
Plus, the trailer didn't really play it as a comedy, and
No.
it's definitely got comedic elements.
Yeah, it's a home
too,
invasion
so.
film from the trailer.
Yeah.
Right.
Purely. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's actually a horror comedy action, really.
It probably means that it'll do really, really well in the long run on video.
Yeah,
you know,
no,
probably
for
will
sure.
just do really well because then it can be marketed the correct way, and you know.
Absolutely.
Word
Even
of
now
mouth.
in the DVD release, you know, they've actually got this picture with, you know, me holding the axe standing in the door frame as the DVD cover in many territories now. So they are selling it with now, you know, the element of surprise kind of out.
One of the interesting debates that we had on the show with other guests is kind of, and maybe you can talk about this, the idea that they kind of throw in a line of dialogue to explain that you grew up on a survivalist camp, which we kind of felt like that, at least me and Elric. I don't know about Rebekah, you can talk about this too, because I think it was you and Clark that were saying you wish that line wasn't in there.
Yeah, because it's like you
just
had to justify why she could kick ass. That was such a cop-out. I just wanted it to be, you don't have to justify it. She just does.
Now, I understand that perspective, but our perspective is like in A Nightmare on Elm Street when Nancy finally fights Freddy, she goes to the library, gets books on self-defense, and it's like, you just need that one shot of her to do it. If she just started booby-trapping the house, I'd be a little bit like, well, how did she do that? So, I don't know.
It's like I don't want to see a superhero. I felt like she was a real person who just happened to have these skills because of what she learned. Whereas if she had just started kicking ass, maybe I'd get what? So she's Superwoman? Like, that's, I don't know. It's a weird debate about what is actually a better thing to portray. I don't know. How did you approach it with that information?
Well, the information was like changed because the character was originally written as an American. So in that reveal speech where I say I'm from, you know, survivalist compound in Australia, that's obviously then been retweaked
for your casting?
For my casting,
Right.
and once they chose to keep the character as an Australian. And they did want people to not be left just up in the air going, well, why can this girl do all this stuff with no answers whatsoever? But they didn't want to go into a heavy, detailed, ridiculous monologue of a story of breakdowning why she can do this either. So we thought
Admit it,
it
was
would
there a
be
training montage flashback?
on the behind the scenes, there could be. So I thought we actually just sort of tried to bang it out real quick and in one line, and knowing exactly what you just said, Rachel, as well, that playing the obvious and stating why you're good at things doesn't always work. I tried to, in my choice, spit that out as casually as possible, so it wasn't really a big deal. So I don't know if I pulled that off, but hopefully.
I think it's quite funny.
It works.
Yes, I think it works as
it's
quite
fun.
I get
funny.
it, gets a couple laughs in there. You know,
Yeah.
you hear say, "Oh, I grew up on a survivor's camp." People are like, "Oh no, really?"
Yeah. Well, you feel, I almost in that moment feel bad for the guys who are
Right.
attacked.
Yeah, you're
Almost
like,
like, oh, you guys are, bummer.
Yep.
You're fucked.
Yeah. It's kind of fun.
So what do you have coming up that you're working on now?
Well, Patrick just came out like 6 weeks ago.
And Becca's
so
a real Patrick
Yeah.
original fan.
Yes, I
Love
love
the
the
original,
original
too.
Yeah.
so much. It's
Yeah.
one of mine and my husband's favorite films, so I'm super psyched to see the new one.
Yeah. Well, so that just came out. So check that one out now.
What do you
And
play in it?
I play Kathy, who is the, I guess the lead of the film. She's the nurse, and she takes care of Patrick. And I'm in amazing company with Rachel Griffiths and Charles Dance. So it was a big movie for me in the sense of who I was working with. Not to put them down, but I still do hold AJ Bowen, to be honest, seriously up there in that caliber because he's genius.
Don't worry,
We put a
AJ,
lot
I-
of shit
I
on
handed-
AJ, but he's
get his
bloody
head
genius.
swollen.
I handed her the
It's
50
all
you
right.
gave me, AJ. It's all good.
Yeah. we figured something else out. But no.
Well, with Patrick, because it's a remake, did you go back and watch the original, or do you find that sort of thing distracting? Or what did you take away from the original then if you saw it?
I just wanted to see the original to know what we were working with and why we were... if you're going to remake something, I would like to know why you're going to remake it, how you're going to do it better, how you're going to do it different, what are the improvements and you know, things like that. So I just wanted to get a sense of the original, knowing that as well it was quite popular of its time and a lot of people loved the original, so I did want to see what the fuss was about. And it didn't affect any choices that I made in the way I played my character or anything. It's you need to have knowledge as well. So for the interviews, have you seen the original? I'm an asshole if I say no.
Right.
Didn't bother watching that, you know.
What was Mark like? Mark Hartley, who directed. I'm curious because he had been known as a documentary filmmaker. And I think this is his first narrative feature. So was this a learning curve for him, or was he interested?
Yeah, I mean, first movie for anybody is going to be a pretty big learning curve like that, especially when you've got other, you know, directors on set. Like Rachel Griffiths is a director too, and she's been in the business for such a long time. You kind of... you find that you step onto a set and like she'd have an idea of how this should be shot, and I think Charles would have in his mind, in his history, an idea of the best way that could be shot, and I possibly would too. So I think Mark found it, you know, you don't have to fight the actors, you're the director. No matter what we say, your choice will win in the end of the day. But I think
great that he was surrounded by so much talent. Like Charles Dance is one of the great roles in Game of Thrones right now.
I mean,
he's amazing right
he's
now.
He's just genius. And
smart.
Then it actually worked really well because of the first time thing. We all worked as a team, so if somebody had a suggestion, like if Rachel wants to come up to me and give me advice on how she thinks I could do something different or better, I'm taking it. That woman knows what she's talking about, and that's why I'm there, is to learn from these people. So it was actually a compliment if anybody wanted to have an input. Let's listen to that and see if that could actually be a better idea, you know?
Right.
Yeah. I guess lastly, to wrap up, what's this convention experience been like from your perspective? I know you're fairly new to it. And again, your next did well and is successful, but it could have done better. But it must be vindicating to meet people directly at these kind of shows and talk about it. So what's it like for you?
I mean, it's just like an eye-opening experience as to the, you know, real market that you're targeting when it comes to the horror world, and why these fans are just so loyal. Like, they love horror movies, so and they've seen movies that I've never even heard of, and I mean they'll dig deep into the history and the future of films, and they know what's coming and what's gone, and I think it's pretty awesome. And not just, people haven't just come for Your Next. A lot of people have actually seen Step Up 3D at a horror convention, you know, so that's pretty interesting.
I fucking love dance movies. Come on, guys.
I'm sure you do.
What the fuck, Elric?
We're going to do the dance episode eventually.
I told you guys, it's going to happen.
Is there any chance your character could return in a You're Next Again?
You're next again.
Or You're Next in Line.
You're
that
next
could be
next
good.
time.
You're Next in Line. But I mean, your character, it's a shame in a sense that this wasn't the 80s when it came out, because it would have spawned a franchise for sure. It's that kind of movie, and that character is so... You just want to watch her again. It's basically female Die Hard, and so you're curious what would happen. But there's been no talk, I assume, because Adam and everyone, or has there been any interest in
You're Next, the sequel?
A second film?
I mean, really early on when the film was sold to Lionsgate, it was sold for 3 films.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
But that doesn't mean anything.
Right, yeah. That's just them hedging their bets.
Correct, it's hedging your bets and whatnot. But, you know, as far as... There's always loose talk for a sequel, and I would know how that plot would roughly pan out. It would be very cool. Very cool. And it would definitely be a continuation of Erin and her journey, and she'd be a little different now that she's gone through what she's gone through and whatnot. But for people that don't know, the original ending of You're Next, everybody dies. You know, the writer, Simon Barrett, wrote the movie from end to beginning. Right. He wrote it backwards with that in mind, that everybody was next. So... You know, the original ending, we did shoot the 2 endings, and then in the test screening, we had the 96% test come back saying, no, she needs to live. And I come from a land of sequels, so on the day I was like, I think we should shoot this ending where, like, she doesn't die. It's kind of a letdown for everybody after everything they've been through.
She's a great final girl, and the whole point is they have to survive. You know, they're meant to survive.
Right, if you're a final girl and you're not left standing, you weren't a very good one.
Yeah, exactly.
So we decided to keep her alive. So you know what? If you're still alive at the end of the film, there's always a chance, but you never know.
Or you could just take over the Die Hard films.
Or that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's getting a bit
Just go
old.
again. Yeah.
Right.
Could use a change up.
Perfect.
Or we could combine Step Up Your Next.
Ooh.
Yes.
Hey.
Step up hard.
That's
Step Up Hard.
Step up hard
There you go.
next.
take the
AJ,
bait.
you're going to
3D.
need to learn to dance.
Yeah.
Nice.
That'd be fun.
Judging from Dave's face, this has been a success.
Yes.
Who's
How you
stoically.
doing, Dave? Dave's stoically
That's
guarding
Rebecca's
the-
dog. I mean, husband. Sorry. Always,
It is the
always-
husband. He's real.
Anyway, we should let Sharni get back to fans and signings and all this awesome stuff. But thanks so
Yeah.
much for talking to us.
Thanks for talking to me too.
No worries. You're bad, you bastard.
No worries, mate.
Oh, now you're sounding Kiwi.
Thank you very
Cheers.
much.
Thanks.
Okay, we are back at Texas Frightmare. We are really excited because it's not often all three of us agree on movies. But I can tell you honestly, when we showed up here, the first thing we all said is, we are getting to interview Kevin Van Hentenryck.
You got it.
Yeah,
Boom.
got it. Boom. And we were both excited about it. We talked to him on the first day. This is now the final day.
I know.
And we are here. And so
He's
thank
the
you for
guest we
joining.
were the most excited about.
Yeah, we
and
even
we're
said-
sitting right behind him.
We
so.
said ahead of time, we have to get the guy from Basket Case.
Yeah.
If we do anything, we
So
gotta
we are
get
here
him.
with Dwayne.
Hi.
Good morning.
Do you do a lot of conventions? I haven't seen you at anything. So
Just a handful every year.
okay, excellent.
Okay. And who did you just meet? Because I'm actually excited about the autograph you just got.
He was beaming.
Julie from The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah,
Very cool.
I did the I moderated the panel for Creature, and it's
Uh-huh.
probably the most nervous I've ever been for any panel because I feel like they're horror royalty, you know.
Oh, yeah,
So,
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, the convention folks came up this morning just to tell me what a good job you did.
Oh,
at it. They were
well,
like,
they're
we just have to tell
wonderful.
you, your staffer Rob was amazing. So
wow,
I loved you.
What wonderful liars! But I appreciate that.
So yeah, we should start. Like find out how you.
Sure,
got to-
you
'cause
go.
I don't know anything about this, or you probably know stuff from listen. You listen to DVD commentaries. I
I
don't.
do, and
Some-
I love Hen and Lauder stuff. So
Yeah, so I'm curious how you even came into Hound Lauder's world, how you met him for the first time and became Dwayne.
I had moved to New York City to study acting at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. And Ilsa, who plays the social worker with the glasses, and I were going out. And at one point she says to me, and she worked at the school. She was the assistant registrar there. She said to me, I know this guy that makes movies. You should meet him. So I said, okay. So I went down and met him, and I guess he liked the way I looked, or I don't know how I struck him, but he put me in 3 background pieces, background characters in a previous film to Basket Case called Slash of the Knife, which everyone's been crying for him to release
Yeah,
since.
I've
and,
never seen that.
Yeah,
heard of
he
it.
I didn't know about it.
refuses to. I still don't know why, but that's Frank, you know.
Yeah.
And I played a tall woman at the back of a wedding, and an inmate in a mental institution, and I have no idea anymore what the third one was.
This sounds so Henenlotter already. Inmates and weddings.
But I was on his case about, because he would use friends, you know, for the roles. He'd say, "You put down that light and come in the door and say this line," and I'd say, "Use acting students. You get better results, and we'll do it just for a copy of the finished piece."
right.
So, I guess he liked that idea or the way I worked. I don't know, but sometime later, 6 or 8 months maybe, I'm not sure of the time frame, he calls me up and he says, "I have an idea for a film." And so he tells me the entire story of Basket Case on the phone and says, "What do you think? Are you interested?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." That was it.
So
Wow.
did he? I assume he wrote it with you in mind. If he already had the
I've
whole
always
thing.
thought that.
Yeah.
He's had never admitted to that.
Uh-huh.
But
We'll get him to admit it.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of Dwayne's characteristics that were me at that age.
Right.
Nice.
And I'm sorry.
No,
I was
no,
just gonna say. I mean, I love the first movie so much, but the second one to me is also one of the craziest, most radical left turns for a sequel ever. And I still hold to the fact that I think the last 5 seconds of the closing scene is the best ending to a sequel ever. So I guess were you? Because it's a big chunk of time later. Basket Case was 82. This was, I think, 1990 or so.
94, I think.
So were you
Wow.
surprised when he called you to do another one? Did you ever think there'd be a sequel? Or
I was surprised because for years he'd said absolutely not.
Right.
But part of that was because, people would come up and say, well, there's a 4th Doctor or a 3rd twin,
Right.
dumb stuff. And the way he tells it, he was pitching Frankenhooker, which
Right.
we did back to back, and Glickenhaus said, "That's great, we'll do it. What else you got?" And he was done at that point. So he just said, "Basket case 2?" So there we are.
Oh, crazy.
I love that.
Nice. Now, what was it like interacting with the Belial puppet?
yeah.
Because I mean, your acting partners, foam.
Really good foam.
Yeah, really nicely done, foam, but foam nonetheless. So, what was it like interacting with the puppet?
When you, doing scenes with Beverly, for example, who played Casey, she wasn't really Casey. So you're always in a situation of suspended disbelief anyways. And it's just an inanimate object that you're acting with. So it's kind of the same in a lot of ways. You just don't get back from it. You have to supply his side. So very early on, I went through the script and I wrote all of Belial's dialogue, wrote it out longhand, so and memorized it. So we had this running conversation in all of these scenes, and
It's pretty amazing. And
Yeah.
and you played Belial in a shot or two in the sequel. Is that true?
two
Right. Yeah. When
very
you see
brief shots. I wore a
it's pretty-
Belial hat.
It's pretty wild.
A Belial hat. I love it.
There's the legendary
Soska's.
Soska sisters. How you doing, guys?
One of the things I was just mentioning to Elric before that I think is kind of fun is like now in all these big, giant summer blockbusters, they're trying to do this they're trying to cross have characters pop up in the other movies and make a gimmick out of it. But to me, the funnest thing as a kid was seeing Brain Damage and then having your character from Basket Case pop up in the subway.
Yep.
Because then that's the first time I think I've ever noticed in a movie being like, oh, this is the Henenlotter universe. These are all taking place in his version of New York. And I don't know, I just thought that was cool. So how did that cameo come about for Brain Damage?
I'm a little fuzzy on that one. He had wanted both casts to cross.
Right.
And there was a SAG regulation at the time where once you start an actor, you have to pay them continuously. So we could only do it one way. But I've always thought that that would be very cool to do more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Casts of different films crossing. I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah.
We're always curious. We talked to William Lustig about this a lot, about New York at that time period. I mean, Basket Case, I saw it this year on the big screen. And the New York that is gone now, that kind of a New York. What was it like living there and making a film in a hotel like that with I assume some of those were real people, populating a hotel, or was it not in a hotel? I don't know.
I get asked this a lot. The Hotel Braslin never existed.
Oh, interesting.
We started off trying to work at this one hotel near Madison Square Garden, which was a pretty sketchy neighborhood in those days. And we had bums coming up to us saying, if you give us $50, we won't steal your cables. So it didn't really work out. So the Hotel Braslin, for example, whenever you see the sign, we hung the sign on the fire escape of my old loft down in Tribeca. The room, Dwayne's room and Casey's room, are the same room, just redecorated.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Wow.
Closely.
Movie magic.
And so that room and the hallway we built in Uji's loft. Uji was Ilsa's ex.
Okay.
So all that was done on a set, and the stairway and the manager's office were the manager's office was a freight elevator on Franklin Street. I think Franklin Street, and the stairway right next to it.
Wow.
Because it evokes place like almost no other film, really.
Yeah,
in New York.
That's what I love about, especially a lot of the horror movies from that era. Is
Right.
it's so New York, and that's not what New York is like anymore. So it's a fun little time capsule of that part of the city.
Well, that ability to create that ambiance from assemblage, that's Frank. That's one of his real strong points.
Wow.
And the other thing is Times Square. We all thought that was a permanent situation in those days. I'm so glad we got a little bit of the old Times Square in the film because it's gone now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Disney. It's all Disney.
It was sketchy. Doing that shot was sketchy.
Right. Now you can claim no knowledge if you want, but last time I talked to Frank, which is maybe a year or two ago, I kept prodding him about another Basket Case movie, and all he would say is, "I have a really crazy idea. I don't know if anyone will like it, but if I'm going to do it, that's what I'm going to do."
Yeah.
So do you have any knowledge of this crazy idea?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
he's
you
talked
do?
to me about it.
Okay.
And I think we're both hoping we can pull it off at some point. And then I'm working on a treatment for a completely different, more of an ongoing story, the Bradley Brothers now, because I would like to revisit them now after, I've lived with this character for 30-plus years.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, Belial was always his puppet, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I play Belial, then you could get head and neck movements really creepy.
Right.
I think it
Right.
would be very
That's
cool. And
interesting.
I'd like to make Belial a character
Yeah.
instead of this raving thing, you know?
Yeah, it'd be fun to play both parts at this point.
Yeah.
And you say you lived with this character your whole life, and now you come to a convention like this where everyone's here to embrace that character as much as you, right? It must be interesting. There's a duality to you as much as there is between you and Belial in a sense, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. The thing no one knows about you, though, which I didn't know about till yesterday.
I told you about
and
this,
it kind of blew my mind, was when you handed me the pamphlet about the stone carving.
Oh, thank you.
And there's a particular piece that you were working on for a long period of time, right?
The Rip Van Winkle at the summit of Hunter Mountain.
Okay, and could you explain, so what was your interest in stone carving? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
I think a lot of people probably don't know this.
You do stone carving. Wow. This is we meet so many famous horror folks who have a day job where they I make ironworks and things like that. This is amazing.
But you also teach?
Yeah. I had actually already given up on acting in favor of stone carving when Frank called me about the original film. And it was, of course, too good to pass up. But when I was first in New York, I was completely blown away by and distracted by all of the sculptures on the old buildings. And then I saw a film, an early Ken Russell film called The Savage Messiah, which is about a sculptor at the time of World War I. Henri Gautier was his name. And in the course of the film, they showed a real carver's hands working a block of stone. And I was so blown away by the idea of a rock as a plastic medium. The Academy was right around the corner from Sculpture House, which is a sculpture supply place. So, I spent a few weeks kind of walking by and looking in the window, and then I worked up my nerve a little more, and I would walk in and walk around and look and then leave. And then finally, I'd saved up what I hoped was enough money and gotten enough nerve up. I went in and asked some sales girl about stone carving. How do you do it? What do you use? Every question I could imagine. And I bought 3 basic chisels and a hammer. And I went and found a rock on the street in the East Village.
How one starts this.
And
in New York, nonetheless.
Yeah. Well, I think it was the first piece was brownstone. They were refurbishing a brownstone building. And then there was an elevated railroad track on the west side at 30th Street. So I set up a workbench under there so I could be out of the rain when it rained and out of the sun. And I just started whacking away. But the first time I touched steel to stone, I had this awesome knowledge or feeling. You would call it a revelation, but it sounds kind of lame. That this was what I was meant to do. Finally, I figured it out, and I had angels floating around my head, in my hands.
My uncle's a metal sculptor in New York, and he has the exact same kind of story. It's you don't know until you do it that first time, and you solder something.
And that moment has powered me since.
It's interesting. Have you done a Belial stone carving in your life?
I actually did one many years ago.
Where can we worship
Yes,
this?
it must be in
Where
some
do we travel?
church, I'm guessing.
The Church of Henenlotter?
It's actually sits in the lawn out in front of my studio in West Kill, New York.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Great.
Well, cool. I mean, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
We'll just have to sit.
The thing about stone carving, 2 things that people miss about it is, one, I think people think it only happened in the Renaissance if your name was Michelangelo.
Right.
And the other is the material itself is hard. So people think, well, it's got to be hard to work it. In fact, it's not. The actual material removal is rudimentary. Humans did this 160,000 years
Right.
ago with a sharp rock held in their hand. And I have much better tools.
And anything else coming up that we should look for before waiting for Basket Case 4 or anything?
Well, I'm working on another treatment,
Right,
as I
yep.
said. And I do this sculpture class every summer, a free 2-week sculpture class. People can come and try it out if they'd like.
Cool.
There's a website. It's www.kevinvanhentenryck.com. It's only ever got about half finished, but you can contact me through the website.
Awesome.
Great.
My Facebook page was hacked, so
Oh, no.
I can't use that now.
Aw.
I will be redoing that soon.
Okay. Great. Yeah, well, thank you for sitting down. It's really
Yeah.
excellent for all
Oh,
of us.
My
pleasure.
pleasure. Thank you
Excited
guys
to talk
for
to you.
everything you do.
Yeah, thanks
Thanks
so
so
much.
much.
Great work.
Hope to see you on screen soon.
Yes.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
so- Bye-bye.
And welcome back. We are still at the Texas Frightmare Convention, and we are here with the lovely Soska sisters.
Hey, you said it right.
I did. I said Soska's yesterday, and somebody was like, it's Soska's.
People are very protective of our names. I don't know why. This is Sylvia, by the way.
This is Jen. Well, technically in Hungarian, and it's a Hungarian name, it's Soska. So to be the Soska sisters, it doesn't sound as cool as the
You
Soska
can't say
sisters.
Shoshka now. It's going to fuck everybody up.
I don't
but
even
I-
think I can say that letter. Shushka.
Soska.
Shushka.
Yeah,
You
but-
did it.
Okay,
You
I'm
did it
getting
really
there.
well, but
I'm
every
getting
time I
there.
meet a Hungarian, like usually it's an older Hungarian man, he's like, "Why do you call yourself the Soska sisters? You are the Soska sisters."
They all talk like that in
Welcome
Hungary.
back. We are here with the Soska sisters. That's what I'm here for.
who also, by the way, because of our last guest, Ricky Bates Jr., they're my new BFFs.
We're
are. Thank
friends
you,
now.
Ricky.
I am so sorry. You know what? Ricky Bates is bringing us all together. That's what he
should
is.
do that for more people.
Just
I love
bridging
him.
friendship.
Ricky
crafts.
Bates is just unifying the world.
He's like a horror Cupid.
Yeah.
I feel like he doesn't think people love Excision as much as.
No, he has no idea people like it.
Like
but
I told him, I wish I made it. Like
Oh.
I'm out of the filmmaking game. I can't make that movie. I can't make movies at all.
He's one of
That's
those
how I'm looking at
super talented, super self-deprecating artists. Like, he'll make the most brilliant film and be like, it's shit, nobody likes it. And he's like, but Ricky, it's brilliant.
did you guys talk about Suburban Gothic?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Wait.
I've
Oh, we heard you're in it, right?
yeah, and
Briefly?
I've seen quite a bit of it.
Oh.
It's brilliant. It's so
It's
fucking
so
good, and he
good.
has no idea, which is, you know what? He'll never get an ego, but maybe in 5 years he'll just show up. You know, those guys that make it, and then they show
Yeah.
up in glasses, and I like fly through like, oh, I made Excision, by the way.
I like that he said he made it to get happy again. Like, he changed tone
Yeah.
to make himself happy. And that seemed like such a great reason to make a movie, you know,
It's
for him.
such a happy film. I mean, Excision, you just want to slit your fucking wrists by the
Yeah,
end of
it's
it.
kind of a downer, just a little bit.
Just a touch, a bit of a touch.
funny. It's a little funny.
I love that the Suburban Gothic is completely a different tone. I mean, if you didn't know that it's the same director, you'd be like, no way, the Excision guy made this. This makes me love life.
Yeah, but it'll speak to our generation a lot. I was laughing for days after and just texting Ricky. I'm like, I'm laughing at this stupid joke that you had again. So he's really funny for a guy who's good at, killing children by sisters and siblings and operations.
Lungs.
Well, let's talk about your movies now.
Yeah.
No, let's talk about Ricky's more.
How's the convention been for you guys?
It is overwhelmingly cool. We got stopped in a parking lot. Some dude started screaming twins, and we're like, because we're identical twins. It's exciting. And then they said, we love American Mary. It's like, oh, it's not the usual kind of cat call. It's a professional cat call, my favorite kind.
We've been to Austin, Texas for a fantastic fest, obviously, which we absolutely love. But this is our first actually all horror convention. Usually we do the Comic-Cons and the video game ones. And to be here for the first time, I was like, maybe a few people will come out to see us. Like, I don't know what our fan base is like down here. And it's been non-stop people and birthday presents and people bringing birthday presents for my mom being like, oh, how's Agnes?
And two sets of identical twin girls that want to become directors. So I think it's going to be a new thing.
Twin directors. It's going to happen, guys.
Oh,
So that's the end of our career.
That's a natural question. I mean, was that something you guys had to figure out through your first films together about how to direct with two people, or is it just so natural to how you? Well, not everyone's at the panel.
Yeah.
Well, it was a pretty
convention.
packed room. I just gonna say.
It was hard to get in. It was hard to get in.
Okay, I understand.
Well, we have a hive mind. Everyone,
Yeah.
it's not like working with another person. It's like working with an extension of yourself because we never really truly disagree, and we have like 30 years of in jokes and like things that we've seen that we love together. So I think if I had to work alone, I'd have to learn how to do that. Working by yourself kind of sounds like it sucks.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys survive as just one of you. Like, isn't that lonely? It feels lonely.
It really
Jen
is,
went and got me a
actually.
sandwich yesterday, and I just sat there like, this is how everyone else feels.
She was literally in tears when I
that's
got
funny.
back. Like, you took so long. It was 10
Somebody
minutes.
get them a sandwich. Keep them happy.
You know, I wanted to ask about American Mary because it's a really great film and really unique and really different. And Adam Barnick is one of my oldest friends from
I
Icons of
fucking love
Fright.
that guy.
I love him. He's got a really good bathroom to do coke in.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
I
Hey,
hear he's part of
In
that whole
Jersey.
Yale thing.
He is part of that whole Yale thing.
All we do is quote American Psycho with Adam forever.
that sounds like him. All right, but if I recall correctly, he actually had the script for it maybe long before you guys even made it. I think.
Oh, yes.
And he was always championing it. So, I mean, we don't know a lot about your tastes and stuff like that. I mean, I definitely sense Cronenberg. That seems kind of like the obvious one. But what's the kind of stuff that gets you excited? Like, what kind of guests here do you get excited to see? That sort of thing. As
Clive
horror
Barker
fans.
gets us very excited,
Mm-hmm.
and we've met Doug Bradley before, which was awesome. It was before anybody gave a shit about us, so I couldn't go over and be like, well, hello, Mr. Bradley. I'm the director of the prestigious underground film Dead Hooker in a Trunk. And we've been online courting with Barbie for the longest time. And when I went over to her, Nicholas Vince came over and he's like, excuse me, ladies, I just want to say that I loved American Mary. And I'm like, the Chatterer knows who I am? Oh, my
It's amazing.
God.
And of course, the Chatterer is so well spoken.
He's, yes, obviously. He'd have to be.
It was good to see Tom Savini again. We were in a booth together at the Fan Expo in Vancouver. And I think we won him over after I was I was shaking and I went over. I was like, in my household, you're called Sex Machine. And somehow he hasn't begrudged me on my inability to speak to him, and now we're good.
And I was really excited to meet Michael Baldwin as well, because I've been online courting him for the longest time. And I thought he was, when I first met him, I thought he was another Michael Baldwin that wanted to, and he's like, we should work together. And I'm like, come on, sir. I don't take I don't take jobs over Facebook. And then when I realized it was actually him, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, no. I would love to work with you. I'd love to work with you.
I've done that with some really important people. I'm like, oh, fuck me.
I think we
Just
did it with
read
Lawrence
their
Harvey
names.
as well, because how many Lawrence
I
Harveys
thought it wasn't
are
real
online?
Lawrence Harvey. I was like, oh, that's so cute. Well, good for you. Look, he even has the profile of the Human Centipede guy. Shit, it is the Human Centipede guy. Damn it.
He's definitely one of those guys. The performance is so convincing that you just can't believe he could be a normal dude. Like in that film, it is so remarkable.
Oh, yeah.
That transformation. Then you meet him, and he's like, "Oh, he's really nice."
He's the
You know?
sweetest guy. He's like a little horror Pokemon.
He is a little horror Pokemon. We also wanted to meet Dee Snider because everyone else calls us Twisted Sister, and our ongoing joke is that's because Dee and us wear the same amount of makeup, except he's blonde.
Were you
Legit.
horror kids? Like, were your kids who were really into horror, or was it something that happened in your teens? Or
Oh, we were fucked up since the very beginning.
Have we asked if we can swear? Can we
Yeah,
swear?
we can
Oh
swear.
my God.
It's too
'Cause
late.
I have a little tally going in my mind, like that Saturday Night Live episode, like when The Avengers was out and Samuel L. Jackson said, fuck you, to Keenan. And I was like, that's why I watch Saturday Night Live for the F-bombs. Never know,
F-bombs.
never know.
Well, tell us about what's coming up. You've got two films that are like right on the horizon: ABC's of Death 2 and See No Evil 2. So tell us a little bit about them.
I am so excited. So, See No Evil 2, it's amazing. Everybody told us when we worked with WWE and Lionsgate, they were so freaked out. They're like, well, first of all, I got a bunch of messages saying Vince McMahon was going to fire me. And I was like, oh, if I got 5 seconds with Vince McMahon, he could pee on me. I'd be thrilled. But never had that opportunity. I have never been treated so respectfully in all of my years. Such a supportive, creative environment. The head of the studio, Michael Louisi, he saw American Mary and he was like, I love your sensibilities, and we have a huge female audience. I would love you to bring that to us. And to say that See No Evil 2 is a strong feminist art house slasher, no one expected that. I mean, even when the movie was done, people were like, this is actually good. Like, that's all we kept hearing. This is good. And I was like,
I love completing a film and then having a studio head, like, maybe one of the studios didn't meet us beforehand, but they definitely met us after they saw us. A studio
You
brass
hired
that I
them?
couldn't
Oh,
get
they
a
did
meeting
okay.
with for a long time. And they're like, it's so much better than we thought it was. It was going to be like direct to DVD before. And now we can actually do something with it, which is nice to be hired with no expectation.
We started watching wrestling when Kane was introduced. So when we got the script and we read it and we realized it was the Kanes, we were like, Kane? Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think our career now is just like we're the fanboy directors. Like, we're like, what would I like Kane to do? Can we get Kane to do this? They're like, sure, his name's Glenn though, girls. I'm like, okay. So Kane.
ABC's is on the other side of the spectrum, where there's WWE is a family-oriented company, even though they had the Attitude Era and they had blood and tits and F-bombs and Undertaker throwing Mankind off a cage. They don't want too many F-bombs. They don't want it to be gratuitous. They're probably not going to make, a Serbian film the next one.
Probably not. They're going to pass on that. They're going to vote for the third one.
But ABCs of Death, too, that's no man's law. That's anything you want to do. And when we handed in our first thing, our amazing producer that we worked directly with, because they had to slice up all the directors so that they had one producer each, Mark Walco, when we did our first one, said, so this is the direction we're going. He said, can it be worse? Can it be more pornographic, possibly?
There's one shot that I don't know if it's going to make it into the final thing, because I think it's X. I think it's X-rated.
By the definition of what is X-rated,
but the thing is, it's never been done before, so how do you rate something that no one's ever done with orifices and making...
We have new porn.
We have new porn.
New porn.
Yes. I want to see that in the classifications of the thing.
I was hoping there would be super porn, so it wouldn't be so lame that you're turning 30. They'd be like, oh, hey guys, here's the good stuff now.
Ultra porn.
I think did you get cut off by accident?
Am I still
there?
Here?
You are. You're still
okay,
here.
she's back.
There she is.
Porn.
Back to the porn.
New porn.
New porn.
Long live new
Long
porn.
live the new porn. Oh my God, that would be amazing.
It's a new porn miracle.
It's a new porn.
I just wanted to give you props for. I've always loved Catherine Isabel. Ginger Snaps is an amazing movie, and she's done steady, consistent work since then.
Yeah.
But the performance you got out of her on American Mary is like fucking amazing. And I'd like to think, I mean, now she's on Hannibal and she's kind of killing that. I'd like to think that reminded people how damn good she is. Getting to front that movie. So was she always like top of the list for that?
I'm so in love with Catherine. I've seen all her movies, so I know the ones that are. And the ones that are like, oh, Katie.
And does she age? Because she looks exactly the same.
She and Cassandra Peterson have, I think, a deal with Satan.
Yeah.
Because they only look better. How do you make two identical twins disappear? Put them next to Elvira.
Death becomes her virus, or that serum from Death becomes her.
Oh,
they've captured it. It's gotta be.
No, but Katie's absolutely gorgeous. And I think she kind of hit the Canadian glass ceiling because she never wanted to go to L.A. She never wanted to do films that she didn't believe in. So she did, everyone does, films that maybe are paycheck films, but she really loved the little independent ones, like Falling Angels was a film she really felt passionately about, but I don't know if it really found its audience. Mm-hmm. So for American Mary, Sylph had met her years ago on the set of Josie and the Pussycats, and she wanted to go over, and I was like, "Oh, say hi to her, Sylph." And I was like, "Okay," and she's like, "How's it going?" Good. How are you? Awesome.
Katie doesn't even remember this. I was like, you were nice to me on the set of Josie and the Pussycat, so I decided to write a movie for you. Exactly what I wanted to see you do.
It was always Katie. And then when we were doing See No Evil 2, the challenge was finding a character that wasn't Ginger and that wasn't Mary, but very Katie and very much in another direction.
Well, when we worked with her on Mary, I was like, either you're comedically genius or you're accidentally hilarious. And now that we're best friends, I'm like, accidentally, you are the funniest fucking thing on the planet. And you never get the hot girl to be the funny one. They're never funny. And she's the most interesting character in the entire thing. Well, I mean, they're all very interesting. Like, I got to work with Danielle Harris, so I have a big, she's an Amazon. She's been fighting masked men forever. And then we have Shalon Simmons, who started in It, and then went on to Final Destination, and Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. Of course, she's a blonde, so I do like killing blondes, but I did really want to see these three women go against Kane and see who can take this giant down.
If anyone does in See No Evil 2, you will have no idea, because you know how sometimes they write the character like, oh, this person is so not even remotely developed. This guy's dead. I don't even know his name. We took Joss Whedon-esque pains for you to love everybody And then if anybody dies, and I'm not admitting it, but maybe someone does.
How lame would it be if no one died? People would be like, what?
That would be like
It just teaches
M.
them
Night
how to play
Shyamalan
basketball and express their feelings. the new gentler Jacob Goodnight.
Could you imagine, though? That would be like a total mind freak. Who's going to live? Everybody. They decided to sit down and talk about their differences, eh?
Yeah, they rent a house together, eh? And they just like
Can we go
figure
back
out.
to Long Live the New Porn?
I
I think we're getting off topic here.
The cool thing is that back to Katie is I know Brian Fuller loved American Mary, and when they were first auditioning her, the network were like, who is this Canadian actress? I don't know, and they gave them American Mary, and they're like, yes, absolutely.
Wow.
And I'm such a Hannibal fan. Margot Verger's my favorite. So the fact that somehow Catherine Isabel's playing Margot right now, like, I am so freaking out. And she's wearing, like, Alexander McQueen and I don't even know how this happened. She's, like, so perfect. Eventually, she won't even take my phone calls. She'll be too busy.
It's okay. We know where
I
she
doubt
lives.
that.
We'll
That's
break
the
in.
dream. That's her dream, I think.
Yeah, and you know what? I love Brian Fuller. We're gonna have him on the show soon, and I just love that he's a fanboy for all this stuff. Like every interview I read with him, where he mentions a movie like that or how he wants to remake Halloween 3, just like my respect. You know, it's like, man, that guy's awesome. Somebody asked him if he could remake one movie, and he's like, "Oh, Halloween 3,"
Halloween 3.
without like hesitation.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Please send him our love and
will.
say we want to work for him so badly. We'll work for less than any other director.
You heard it here first. We will
Yeah.
tell Brian
We've
Fuller
heard it.
exactly that.
Give us one good Margot episode. Just one.
I know. My buddy Vincenzo Natali, he did that when Katie's first episode. So I messaged him right away. I'm like, fuck you. You got the Katie episode.
Wow.
In a loving way.
Yeah.
So what do you have planned for the rest of the con?
We are going to go shoot machine guns.
Yeah.
Wow.
At the end of the con, because towards the last hour, usually it kind of dwindles.
Mm-hmm.
I missed shooting machine guns at Fantastic Fest, not last year, but the year before. And I'm like Tackleberry from Police Academy.
Hey.
Yeah, so I really, really, really want to shoot guns. Also, we're going to sit there and we
Yeah.
are going to try and be less chatty because we spend so much, us and Clive Barker spend like a date amount of time with each person that comes by.
But I've gotten autographs and they don't look at me or they spell their own name wrong. And I'm like, for fuck's sakes. And I hate that experience because it shittens the movie for you. And imagine somebody comes. Shittens the movie for you. It's
New
a
word.
Canadian term. Imagine somebody comes over with like a tattoo of American Mary and they meet you and you're like, oh, she sucks. And then it's like, what are they going to do? Graft it off their body or every time they look at it be like, oh, fuck. Remember what a bitch she was? Yeah. So we can't let anyone have that experience. We just can't. It just would drive me nuts.
Well, I appreciate that as a convention goer,
Well,
And as a former enemy.
as a former enemy. No
I'm
longer.
sorry I blocked you on Facebook. You know
It
what?
doesn't matter.
I'm going to
No,
add
that
you as a
means something.
friend.
That's harsh.
I'm
to
so
block
glad
someone.
that I got drunk with Ricky Bates Jr. and we resolved all this.
it makes the
That's
world
all.
better,
we
doesn't
need
it?
we need a bumper sticker that says that. I'm so glad I got drunk with Ricky Bates Jr.
It's like a club that we're all joining.
Well, we all appreciate you coming out. I know, I mean, they've had lines the entire time, so I'm going to take 15 minutes to
I
come talk to
moderated
us.
the
This is
panel
awesome.
yesterday, and it was like standing room only. It was pretty
Wow.
insane. So, yeah.
Thank
You
so
took like the
much.
best photo ever of us with the horns, and everyone like we threw up our little horns because we instead of saying one for safety, we say one for Satan.
We don't know who's responsible for the career, the man upstairs or downstairs.
It's
so
one of them.
Keep them covered.
One of them will make sure we have good pictures,
Yeah.
Nice.
as is important. So, excellent. So, thanks so much for joining us,
Thanks for
guys.
having
Thank you
us,
so much for having us.
Keep us posted on everything that's coming up.
Enjoy the machine guns. I'm excited.
There are,
I-
you know us.
Can you
there
get
will be
video of
photos.
that?
I will try
You guys
to.
shooting machine guns? That's hot.
At least 15 seconds on Instagram
Exactly.
or something. I don't know.
I think that's a new kind of porn too. Is it?
Machine
No,
gun
probably
porn.
not. It's probably not. Girls shooting machine. I think
Machine gun
Tarantino
porn. He
opened
probably
Jackie Brown with
did.
that. So
Sedaris, he did that the whole like 90s. That was his thing. So.
time for a comeback.
Yeah.
I'm into- Thanks, guys.
Alrighty.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us.
All right, welcome to episode, I guess this is 58 of Killer POV, or technically our Texas Frightmare live. First time ever trying to do a live podcast, and it's terrifying already.
No headphones.
Yeah,
No
I feel
headphones.
weird without the headphones,
Headphones
on,
make
guys.
us feel like we're on like the radio,
Yeah.
and hence bigger than life. And now I feel very small next to Elric Kane.
This is actually our first time out of studio, guys.
That's true.
Yeah.
True.
I don't hang out with these people otherwise. I mean, No, that's not true. Anyways, I am Rob G from FEARNET and Icons of Fright. This is Elric Kane from Inside Horror.
Hi, guys. Hi.
He likes a movie called Possession, just in case you didn't know. Rebekah McKendry from Fangoria, from Killer POV.
But not today. Today I'm not Fango
You're barred from
affiliated.
talking about Fango. And our guest is the editor-in-chief of Fangoria magazine, somebody I've been looking forward to meeting for a long time.
I
Mr.
feel like I've
Chris.
met you, though. It's really weird.
I feel like we've known each other,
I really
right?
feel like I met all of you. Well, I have met you.
Yeah, I know you a little bit.
It's, the technology is a weird thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Chris Alexander,
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
And no, I've never been to
Yeah.
Canada,
No?
so I've never met you there. And have you come out?
No one ever comes to Canada. That's the thing. It's a very lonely life.
Well, they make
I lead.
movies there.
Yeah, and
So-
George Romero lives in Canada.
Dude, see,
They
you got
do.
George
Things-
Romero. You
Things
don't need
happen
us.
in Canada. Yeah,
Picture
right.
you in
know
a
what,
cabin,
in Canada,
like, up there.
because like a few things happen in Canada. Every little thing that does happen, we hold on to it with this death grip.
Right.
Because we don't have a lot. Like we gave you Jim Carrey, and we'll carry that to our grave. You know
That's
I
what
mean?
Matt Curry Holmes. He's
Like,
always
that's
like,
it.
"We gave you Dan Aykroyd. You're welcome."
Yeah, Dan Aykroyd, Martin Short. We sent
John
you comedians.
Candy?
Yeah, we gave you John Candy.
John Candy.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
Anyone from Second City, we sent your way. Canadians are funny because the most miserable people in the world are the funniest, right?
You also gave us Bieber. I don't know
We
how
give
I
you
feel
Bieber,
about that.
but yeah, you should like that because Bieber gives you something to talk about. I mean,
But
there's
didn't you
some-
sh-
we give you a
weren't-
Crackmare and we give you all that fun stuff.
Weren't a bunch of awesome like early '80s horror movies shot in Canada?
True,
So
because
you
the
gave
tax
us all that.
shelter. Yeah, I know. Canadian. I don't know if you know what Cinepix is. Cinepix. John Dunning, we just lost a couple years ago, who was. Anyone know what Cinepix is? No? Okay, yeah. Well, here's a little bit of education. Okay, so in Quebec, in French Canada, throughout history, they were their censor board was the Catholic Church, so you could not show or say or do anything. And then as that started to break down in the '60s, this guy Dunning and his partner Andre Link started this little company called Cinepix, and they started exhibiting horror movies. And they were the first guys in the world to show Bruce Lee movies in the Western world, that is. And so they were doing that. They showed Todd Browning's Freaks, and then they would put on these big events, and they kind of became hot shit. And then they started showing porn movies, softcore stuff. Then they started making their own softcore porn movies. They called maple syrup porn movies, right?
Wow.
Really good,
Maple
cool
syrup.
stuff. You should see. They're really hot and funny, and
Sounds sweet.
And they're they're 60s, so they got that vibe. And then they started making horror movies, and they discovered David Cronenberg, right?
Yeah.
Cronenberg came on the train. He said, I want to make a porn movie. They said, well, we've seen your shorts. You have a sexual sensibility, but we're not sure what kind of sexual sensibility. So they funded Shivers, Rabid, and all these amazing My Bloody Valentine,
Yeah.
Happy Birthday to Me, all these amazing horror movies.
Things.
Which one?
Things.
Things. Yeah, well, that wasn't
They didn't
them.
fund it,
That
though.
wasn't them. They're just some other asshole Canadian. Yeah. So yeah, we for sure, man. Canadians have a dark side. Absolutely.
Wow.
And it's still going. I mean, Pontypool was Canadian, and
Yeah.
Cube was
Bruce McDonald,
Canadian.
yeah, Bruce McDonald.
was,
Yeah,
yeah.
Vincenzo Natali. Yeah.
Some of my
Yeah,
favorite
we
films.
got lots of Canadians.
And the
Let's do some
Shoshka
good stuff.
twins.
Yeah.
Shoshka.
The Shushka.
For anyone who was wondering how to pronounce their names, it's Shoshka.
That's right.
They just
Just so you
informed
know.
us.
Got it. We were corrected.
Yeah, we're
How
just
do you
correct.
pronounce it?
Shoshka.
No, you do not. Shaw? Is it
Shushka.
It's a Hungarian
Something
name.
like a Sean Connery thing or something?
Yeah, Shoshka twins.
Wow.
Something like that.
Okay.
So if you listen to the show, what we normally do is kind of pick a topic that caters to our guest. That way we could all kind of just riff and have a casual conversation. And we're going to tackle that in a minute. We actually thought it'd be interesting to talk about, Elric, how did you put it? Modern horror? Like post...
Yeah,
like
contemporary. I mean,
Contemporary.
Contemporary?
What year did you take over Fango?
That was 2009. I was told that it was happening, and I was sort of doing it, but it really wasn't announced. I guess it was 2009. Let's say 2009.
So we'll do post 2000 and
Sure.
particular interest in what happened in the few years since you've been running the magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how horror has evolved and changed since you took over Fangoria. That might be it.
Is that your question?
No, that's going to be our
That's our
topic.
topic.
We need to
Answer
break
in
the
10
ground
words
rules
or
down for
less.
you.
Whoa.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, also, I mean, like I've gotten questions at a lot of conventions about like where's the industry heading, and everybody. And that's not even at conventions. That's like the big mystery of Hollywood right now. Where is the industry heading? Because usually you can
To the
kind of
toilet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
You can usually kind of point and say like we're all making torture films, or we're all making J-horror ripoffs and things like that. But no one's really sure right yet. So yeah.
But
Kind
is
of
anyone ever really sure where it's going? 'Cause
No.
then, something comes
That's
out
all
of left
cyclical.
field. And
Listen, you never know.
Yeah.
You can't anticipate these things. I mean,
Right.
Who would have thought that this little thing called paranormal activity would suddenly redefine what people expect and want
Yeah.
from their
And a
horror
studio
movies.
can't manufacture that.
That's
what-
right.
That's
But
what
that's
they're
always like
trying to
those
do.
pivotal movies that come and change everything are always leaking out of the underground. They're always weird and fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're anti-commercial. And then Hollywood's so dumb. Instead of keep exploring these bizarre strains of art and film, they keep trying to just chase that commercial dragon again and again and again and again until they burn it out, and then some other guy comes along. They're just not very creative in middle management, unfortunately. So.
Well, like an example, like right now, like The Conjuring is huge. So like every press release is a haunted movie that starts with the
invoking,
the bang.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a letter that is A, B, or C.
Yes.
Yes.
Because if some of you might not realize, the VOD has also radically changed Hollywood because it's forcing movies to basically title their movies within the first 3 letters of the alphabet because they don't believe you'll check all the way down when you're scanning what to watch.
It's also Netflix. I know that's why Level 33 called it Zombies, was that they wanted to make sure that when you went to the horror section of Netflix, it was at the top of the list.
That is true.
And it's pretty strange. It's weird. But I mean, we're getting such quick results now. You used to make a movie, and then there's this long period before it's getting seen by an audience. Now everything's pretty quick, and the information about it is particularly quick, especially because you guys, obviously Fangoria started when that information wasn't just out there. You had to buy the magazine.
Yes.
Now you guys are a print medium in a digital world, and so that's obviously a major challenge in itself, I assume.
It certainly is. Yes, on every conceivable level, it's a challenge. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say about that as far as trends and what's happening. Because people always say, what's going on? What's the future? What's happening? It's like, well, you know what? The future's all around us. And there's different horror movies coming from every corner of the globe all the time. In fact, to me, this is the most exciting time to be a horror fan. Because you're not, back in the days of early Fango, that was it. You'd wait. Fango comes, suddenly they're the guys that have all the news. Now you get it from everywhere all the time. You're plugged in. It's a global village. And everywhere, someplace, sometimes, somebody's making something interesting. And as long as you're wide awake and looking, you will find something cool. If you're a lazy prick and are just going through, you stop at B on your Netflix queue, then it's, you're going to be grumpy. But I see amazing stuff everywhere all the time. And I think the most important thing for me, and this is just as a film fan, period, and loving, just the byproduct of loving horror, is that as I age, too, and as I get battered down by trends, I'm always looking for my horror hiding in places. Like we talked about this, Elric, and Under the Skin, which is on the cover of Fango 332.
A ballsy move.
Well, yeah, it was because some people are like, hey, why you put Scarlett Johansson on the cover of Fango? It's like, well, I'm not. I'm putting Under the Skin on the cover of Fango. It just so happens that Scarlett's in it. She's really good in it. But, that's not a horror movie. You talk to the director about that. He's like, I don't know. How do you think it's a horror movie? You tell him. He's like, okay, then I guess it's a horror movie. It's kind of interesting. But I found that movie filled with far more dread and terror than anything that's called a quote-unquote horror movie out there now. And I said Lars von Trier's Melancholia filled me with more dread than any horror movie I've seen in a long time. So I'm always trying to find horror hiding in other genres. That to me is very interesting, and it also maintains that quest, which as a film fan, as a kid, looking, searching, finding, people say, this is a bad movie. It is? Well, I'll find something good in there. I think most horror fans have that kind of sense of quest.
It also brings up balance because your position with Fangoria, you have to balance your interests, your personal interests with, obviously
and defend.
Right, exactly.
You're always on trial.
Right. So Under the Skin, obviously, by placing that on the cover, which I also thought what you wrote about it in your first rights was really, great. It really justified it. Now some people might not even bother to read that. Yeah. So they might just get, hey, why hasn't this got, But you've also have Gore Zone now, so you can point them to, hey, we do the Gloria cover over at Gore Zone.
Yeah, you try to, someone said to me when I got the gig, it's like, well, just know you can't please them all. I said, well, maybe you can. You just got to really kind of work harder, and you got to just have the courage of your convictions. I mean, I put Nicolas Cage on the goddamn cover in a 2-part article.
We had him
on the cover. I called him the master of horror.
He's been on there a couple times.
On the cover? Yeah, but not as Nicolas Cage.
Not as
like, here's Season of the Witch or something. It's like, oh, okay. But you put Nicolas Cage on the fucking front, and it's a sit-down on his island. See, that was the angle, right? Fango's going to the Bahamas to go to Cage's private island while roosters are walking around, and he's asking if you want to sacrifice them in a voodoo ritual, and he's hacking a snail apart and pulling the cock out, saying, I want you to eat this just like Viagra. That's amazing. And then as soon as I got there, you get off the boat and spread out all over the table our Hammer horror movies. So the first hour of our meeting was just geeking out over Hammer movies. I mean, this guy lives and eats, sleeps, and breathes horror. And if you look at any of his roles, I mean, he's always like this arcane element inside. I don't care if it's a romantic comedy. Nick Cage does not belong in that romantic comedy. He's just weird. He's scary. He's like beamed in from another dimension. So I put that on there, but then I spent the next year trying to defend why I did. And I can, but you're always kind of, if you take those chances and risks, you gotta be sure that you can back them up with the fans. Yeah.
Is it hard to stay interested when you are catering more just to the fans, or if you're doing something that you feel is less interesting to you personally, but you know people demand it or desire it?
Well, what do you mean? Is it you saying?
Is it hard to stay interested? I guess. I mean, I think sometimes we get oversaturated with having to watch horror films rather than the desire.
Yeah.
And especially in a position like what you're doing, you're constantly thinking about
Yes.
it. You know, do you ever have to step outside of that bubble and do something else for
just
yourself?
Kind of phone it in a little bit.
Yeah.
You mean?
Well,
Kind
no,
of
no, I'm not going to ask that question.
No, well, I mean, being engaged is paramount. I think.
Right.
I think the minute I'm not engaged anymore, I don't want the job anymore.
Right.
You know, it's like we were talking about this yesterday. This Craig Ferguson skit, where I found on the internet from 2007, where he's like, I don't do this for the money, right? And he goes, which is convenient because there's not much, right? So we don't make a lot of money doing this gig on any level, but you do it because you love it. And so the minute it becomes dull, is the minute you just want to just go get a job at Starbucks.
Good.
It's funny when you mentioned the thing with Nicolas Cage. Like, I would never have pegged him as a Hammer horror fan.
Huge.
But that's kind of cool. Is like when you meet a lot of these people that you interview from the movies. Is if you get that moment where you realize, oh, we're both totally horror nerds.
Yeah.
So was there anybody surprising that you met along your journey at Fangoria that you're like, oh wow, this person's way more into horror than I could ever imagine?
It happens all the time because
Yeah.
not only do I have a lot of gigs, right? So Fango, but also I don't kind of totally get lost up horror's asshole. I also write I'm the film critic for Metro, which is the daily. I think there's one Metro daily all over the world, but Toronto and Canada I write for. So I can see other movies that I don't normally see, and I can review them and just be part of that and get paid. So I do that, and then I end up talking to these guys, and then I brings up what my other gig is, and then if they find out, oh my god, like Jason Segel, okay, like the Muppets.
Yeah.
I brought my son and I, who at the time was 5. We had a little column in Metro where we reviewed kids' movies together. So I brought him to interview Jason Segel for the Muppets, and he found out the Fango gig, and that was the interview. That was it. It was just he wanted to talk about horror movies nonstop. It's like this guy should not be. He's the cute little guy next door who's in the Muppet movie, and yet he's like the big horror nerd who's just dying to star in a horror movie, right?
Wow.
Yeah, so it's cool stuff like that. And when you find, again, it's, as you guys know, it's like a secret handshake, right?
Yeah.
You love this shit, you're in it, you came in it at a certain point in your life, and no matter how your life changes, that never will. So it's cool.
It's really neat seeing some of the people that we get at the Fango booth that you would never expect. Like Method Man came at Kamikaze, and he was just there, like walking around, getting mobbed by people. But he came up to the Fango booth and was like, "Fucking love you guys," and sat there and talked horror with us for a while. Sebastian Bach did the same thing. Or even here yesterday, the band Ghost was walking around, and Papa came over to the table and was like, "Can I get a picture with you?" And I was like, "What? You want a picture with me?" And he was like, "No, get the Fangorias. Let's take a picture." It was amazing.
Well, it's like even like the Native Indians like hiding in the mountains somewhere in some remote village. They don't know anything. They don't even know what a car is. But you say Fangoria, oh Fangoria, yeah. Like everybody knows whether you read it or not, you're aware of it.
Do you remember your first exposure? I mean, this is open to all of you. I think the first exposure to, whether it's Fangoria magazine or whatever the magazine was that you first came across, because I grew up in New Zealand at that time, and Fangoria was the only magazine that made it that far. As far as my memory, I don't remember seeing. So you guys had Famous Monsters and other things here. I didn't.
I completely missed Famous Monsters. I know a lot of people that was their introduction. Fango was the first for me, but.
Yeah. Yeah,
what was it for
me
you?
too, but I'm in Canada too, so we had to work harder. And in Ontario, it was Fango and Gorzone were up in the porn racks a lot of times. So you'd reach up and it'd be like double D's, and it's like wow, it's like it's like this extra danger. Shouldn't be looking at any of this. But I remember seeing, I think it was the first Fango I saw. I pulled it down and opened it up, and it was like My Bloody Valentine. And when she came out of the dryer, it was the gatefold, it was the Scream Grades poster, and I was like, oh my god. And then later on, the Dead Zone with the Nicholas Campbell with the scissors in his face and everything else. But at that point, it was cool. My dad loved horror. I knew all about horror. I loved it. I knew who everybody was. But what Fango did in finding it and when I could, it legitimized that. It made me realize I wasn't just like that guy on the school bus who liked all this weird shit. Like other people did too. And also, it taught me some of as it did for all of us, the wizards behind the curtain, the illusion. how they did this shit, which was amazing. It was such a revelation that this stuff, and you could do it. You could order the stuff from the back of the magazine and get all this crap and run around and scare your mom and open your wrists and go, hey, right? It was amazing. And yeah, that's all we had. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have any of that. Back in our day, we didn't have that stuff. That was it for me. You know?
Yeah, that's funny. Actually, I just found a photo that I posted that I totally forgot about trying to freak my parents out, where I just put tons of blood in my hand and put a scissor in the middle of it.
Oh, yeah?
Like,
And did it freak them out, though? Or they just expected?
No, they just knew I was weird.
What Rob to do was weird.
No.
Yeah.
I used to, in the Walden Books in my own hometown, they would keep Fango kind of off to the side, but it was with the porn mags, and they kept it in the clear mailer, like porn mags, where you can't like go in and leaf through it or anything. But there was always one, like somebody would always rip it open. There was always one that'd been leafed through there, and I remember leafing through them.
Pages stuck together.
Yeah.
That's weird.
And I used to go in, and my parents would get it for me, but it had to be like a special occasion. Like I couldn't have a subscription until I was in high school, and then they let me have a subscription. And the first one that came was the virus issue, the Jamie Lee Curtis one, and I loved it since then. But Mad Monster Party was a big thing for me too when I was a kid. Cracked. It was Cracked Monster Party.
Mad Monster
yeah,
Party.
I loved those. Any of the like little jokey kids monster mags.
I don't remember that was an offshoot of Mad.
Was
that what it was?
Cracked had a version,
Cracked,
and I think Mad may have had a version too, but I don't think that theirs was monthly.
But Mad was always a little more sophisticated. Crack was kind of for morons, right? And that's why I liked Cracked. I mean, Cracked was way more accessible.
And I was definitely reading it when I was really young, and a lot of it was just like, little sketches with like Wolfman and, Frankenstein doing cool stuff. But then they would have these pictures, these like really gory pictures with captions. So I remember this one vividly because I cut it out and put it on my wall, but it was a man's face split in half, and it was breaking open, and you could see his brain, and it said, "I've got a splitting headache." And I loved that picture. I used to stare at it all the time. So.
Yeah. Well, I loved, talking about like putting Cage or Gene Simmons or any of these guys that are kind of left field in the mag. It's like, to me, the Fango I really grew up with was that first decade with like Bob Martin and everything, when they didn't really know what it was, so it was an experimental mag. And they were just throwing everything at the wall, seeing what stuck, and wrestling and whatever else. And, everyone always talks about issue number 9, and that is the one I love the most because it's just the weirdest. It's got, Motel Hell on the front. It's got the Howling. It's got a huge article on Jack Kirby about Thundar the Barbarian. It's got Conan in there. It's got an interview with Andre de Toth about House of Wax, but it was an interview conducted over like 2 years because there was no internet and the guy lived overseas, so they were just pen pal it. And it was that interview that they did for 2 years. Yeah. So it's like, this is wild. This is like, go for it. Whatever sticks, we'll just keep riding it. And fans just ate it up because you never knew what the next page was, when you flipped it, what was going to be there. And to
Have
me,
you tried bringing some of that into your last few years?
Like
just mixing it up?
Always try to like, I don't like set visits. Set visits to me, I remember like, when I was freelancing for Fango for years before I got the editor gig, I'd be like reading it and going, actually not reading it. I'd be looking to see I'm in there, on the shelf it went. I remember the first time I said, this magazine definitely needs a wash, is when I looked, there was like a 7-page or 8-page set visit for The Box. The fucking Box with Cameron Diaz, which is like, first of all, a bastardization of
great
Richard
Twilight Zone
Matheson.
episode too. Yeah,
but really, how walking around a film set, looking at guys, you've been on film sets. That's boring.
And they feed you the information when you're on a film set. They literally give you a fact sheet of what you're allowed to
also
report on.
And then everyone's and there's it's a junket too, so everyone's the same lines. Like, this director knows what he wants. This actor is amazing to work.
All these actors are bringing their A game.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. And it's only 8 pages because the guy who wrote it wants the longer, bigger paycheck and everything. So, anyways, it was just like kind of, this magazine needs a little bit of a shake-up.
But also a lot of that information now is going directly online.
Yes.
And so you guys have to
relevant.
create content that is something that it's not so time-specific.
Yeah.
And something that's worth drawing you in, right?
That's exactly right. Is that, as soon as this and studios haven't picked up on that yet. So they're still playing that kind of weird tango with you, like you need them, and you really don't, because it's all completely irrelevant by the time we hit stand. So we have to find interesting angles at all times to keep the reader engaged and informed.
Have you ever had someone who had, because you're sometimes going with, say, Nick Cage, who might not seem like an obvious choice, anyone resistant to being a part of Fango because they think maybe horror is a negative thing?
You know what? I can't.
Never happened.
I'm sure there is somewhere, someplace down the line, but no, most people.
Because it's changing, right? Walking Dead. We were just talking about this.
It's totally.
The fan base changes when mainstream
it's not
things
ghettoized
get
anymore.
popular. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so on the level. It's so much, so part of the commercial zeitgeist. I mean, horror is big business all over the world. Video game, I mean, it's everywhere. It's omnipresent. It's not a dirty secret anymore. You know, they say the difference between horror and porn back in the day is just what spurted where and when. But not anymore. You know, now it's even porn is legitimate. You know, even like
porn's making more than most movies.
I saw Lars von Trier's Nymphomaniac in a theater. I just watched the whole 5 hours of it, and it just like. So much cum, oh my God, you know? It's like, and this is like a mainstream movie, right? So, you know.
But, I mean, speaking of horror porn, you brought back Gore Zone.
Yeah.
And that seems to be an attempt to be able to still go there with a magazine, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, even got banned in your home country for a while.
Yeah, it did, yeah. I mean, it's not even, like, you read Gore Zone, it's really not that much different than Fango. It's more the sensibility that anything goes in Gore
It feels
Zone.
Dirtier, which is fun.
It feels way dirtier because
Yeah.
there is nudity and there is sex, but there's also a lot of independent stuff, so it's grottier and the blood is grottier. It's not computer, it's not CGI, it's not clean, pretty, it's just ugly, and but it's fun. It's
why did it go? I don't know the history. Why did it go away and why did it come back?
Well, I don't know. It's like we were talking about this. It's like, you know, if you look at the last issue of Gore Zone before it had its death rattle, it was issue 27, and it was like Gore Zone presents Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It was Robert De Niro on the front.
It lost its
Wow.
edge.
Yeah, it's like it didn't know what it
Yeah.
was doing, and then it wasn't. It couldn't really be too gory because it was always in the newsstands. But at that point, Chaz Ballin had packed his bags; he wasn't part of it, and so that rock and roll edge was gone. And you know, and then they were competing against themselves with Fango. It didn't make any sense. You know, Fango's already had its enough blood, and
I remember talking to Tony Timpone about this, and
Yeah.
there were so many other horror magazines popping up that they did Fangoria, Gore Zone, and they launched Toxic Shock.
Toxic
Horror.
So
Shock.
they had three completely different horror magazines, and they were essentially competing with themselves.
And they were all the same, and they were all
Yeah,
designed
they were all
by
pretty much the
Bill,
same.
and they all looked the same.
And competing even against the Gore Zone thing. We also had a special effects thing. It was called like Cine Secrets or something like that. That was coming out too, and we did that in like a 6-issue run. But it was all happening right that final year of Gore Zone.
Yeah, and plus it was the time too. Like, what was it, 94?
Yeah, it was
So
it was
like
mid
horror was
90s.
kind of like having a nap at that time. You know, the 90s were until Scream, I guess, were pretty fucking desperate for horror.
But then
Yeah.
it gets even worse after Scream because they all start imitating
Yeah, then
Scream
they're
for a
like-
while.
Yeah, then it's all the
It's all
teens.
teens
It's a big
and
joke
yeah.
now, right? That is it. That's wink, wink, horror. Ugh. Blech.
What was some of your gateway horror? I mean, just we talk about it on the show. Every episode is usually about our childhoods or
Yeah.
something that affected us. What are some of the key memories you have?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, I always say it was, you know, the imagery, the aesthetics was looking at the cover of Love Gun, the Kiss record, in the library when I was 3 or 4. And I was looking at Gene Simmons. I didn't know what he was. And with the fangs. And I used to have nightmares about Kiss. And then when I finally listened to them, I'm like, oh, it's just shitty rock. Kiss is my favorite band now. But at that time, I really was expecting it to be chains rattling and people screaming. But I didn't know what it was. And I was obsessed. And then I went to, in Canada. Has anyone been to the Canadian side of Niagara Falls? No?
Has anyone been to Canada?
Has anyone been to Canada?
Anyone?
Oh, we
Okay,
got
well,
We got a couple
if
people.
you ever find yourself in Canada in Niagara Falls, first of all, our view of the falls is quite lovely. But we have that little strip called Clifton Hill, which is like, you know, a little tiny microscopic Vegas, I guess. And maybe there's casinos. But there's this shitload of wax museums, and there's a place called the Castle or House of Frankenstein. And still to this day, it scares the hell out of me. But my granny took me there, and as soon as I walked in, it's get the sound effects in the dark and you know, that shit. And they wouldn't let us back out, so we had to walk through the duration of it. And we exited. I was screaming, crying, hiding. I was like, I was in living, breathing hell for like 20 minutes. And then we get out at the end, and we exit through the gift shop, and it's bright like this, and there's like music playing, and people buying like snow globes. And it was like so normal, and I was like, how could I just have come out of the bowels of hell and now be in this world? It was the weirdest thing. And so you become obsessed with why you're reacting to certain things. And so, yeah, but the movie, I think the first movie that really did me in hard. I mean, I'd seen The She-Beast, the Michael Reeves movie, when they're dipping Barbara, well, they actually weren't dipping Barbara, but it was supposed to be the witch, but only a few minutes of it. Maybe the odd Godzilla thing. But it was Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 78 version. And I remember in the back, I had a Batman comic where he was fighting a guy named Blockbuster. And on the back, it had that poster, you know, the body with the casting the long shadows. And it's like roots going into the ground. And I don't even think I could read the words Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but I just looked at this, and it was clearly people running away, but also dissolving. And you can't really articulate how you're reacting to it. It has a visceral reaction to it, and you're just thinking about it. And then the following year, so I would have been 5, City TV, which was the local channel, had picked up the screening rights, whatever. They bought it, and so it was a big deal. They were screening Body Snatchers. And so I was like, I gotta see this fucking movie. I gotta see it. And my parents went out to go see a movie, and they told my babysitter, do not let him watch Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Do not. And that's only a PG movie, but if you've seen that movie, that's a hard PG. That movie's bloody and dark and
scary even as an adult. I saw it again this year. It's a terrifying.
It is that
film.
final image with there's no music. I'm getting chills just talking about it. It still does me. I still think that's a masterpiece.
Yeah, it's a great film.
But anyway, so my babysitter was clear that this wasn't going to happen, and the babysitter, God bless her, fell asleep. So I picked up the controls and 07, which was the channel, and it was right in the sequence where Sutherland's hacking his own pod in the face with whatever it was, a spade or whatever. And I was and I fumbled. I turned it off, and that's all I saw of it, and that was it. I had nightmares forever because of that sequence, but all I could think about was seeing more of it. What happened? How did he even get to that point? And how could he even be hacking himself up? My brain was like the metaphysics of it were just staggering. So that was my big, absolute coming out party was. Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
It's awesome that you can have something like horror is the only thing you can have your initial experience be somewhat traumatic, but then being drawn back right to it.
Yeah.
Like we talked about, mine was Creepshow at 5 years old.
Oh yeah,
and it was the crate monster, and it's like I had nightmares for years, and yet somehow through that you're working something out. You're working through something.
You bought a Creepshow poster this week.
Yes.
Yeah, you bought a Creepshow poster.
Highlight of this festival is that Mondo put out their half sheet for Creepshow, and it was the crate monster, which blew my mind.
Yeah,
so
no, the crate,
cool.
Fluffy. Yeah, that did me in.
But these same things you could go back, and that's almost comical now to watch that.
The other thing is too is that there's a nostalgia factor woven into this. So if you love this stuff when you're a kid, it's tied into certain experiences that are almost warm, right? No, they can be not, maybe not. But someone really wants to get a hold of you.
I know.
Yeah.
But it's a very unconscious
I'm sure it's
nostalgia.
Probably, yeah.
It's not a nostalgia I think we're trying to experience again. It's almost, I think it unconsciously works away.
Creepshow, my dad used to work a lot of nights, so I would watch a lot of movies with my mom. So, and she would let me watch everything. When Miami Vice came on, she wouldn't let me watch The Dukes of Hazzard because she thought it was moronic. So I had the toys. I had no idea what Boss Hogg did. I was like, who is this guy and how does he factor into this world? He would drive the General Lee. I didn't know what he did. But Miami Vice was, stay up till 10 o'clock on Friday night. You're going to watch Miami Vice with me. And that's, still
guys
pretty
doing coke
dark
with machine
shit.
guns. It's fun.
It's
just an Uzi.
I
remember going to school singing, "This is what you want, this is what you get." That PIL song was in that before it was in Hardware, right? And I was like, that was an amazing episode. It's like a giallo, right? So I was always allowed to watch this stuff, but I was watching it with my mom. So it was really cool, and we used to watch like Heavy Metal, the cartoon, like it was on cable all the time. And we watched Creepshow together. I watched Life Force with her, there's Matilda May's rump like endlessly, and it's like, but it was just like a nostalgic, warm, safe, cozy feeling. And also, I used to scan the TV guides and highlight all the horror movies, and I used to put a alarm clock under my pillow, and I'd have it wake up because I didn't have a VCR or anything, and then I'd sneak downstairs, and you're very careful, and you'd stop. Okay, and you'd get down there. You didn't want to wake mom or dad up, and then you'd flip on the TV and keep the volume so quiet, so quiet, so quiet, and then you'd hear a sound and you'd turn it off. And be sitting there in dead silence. So you're scared, right? You're watching a scary movie by yourself at night with the sound barely on. It's an alien experience, but you're also scared you're going to get caught. So it was just this weird feeling. So, I was watching weird shit like Death Curse of Tartu at like 4 a.m, which is brutal. But I was scared of it because of the environment, right? So, yeah, it's so tied into, all that stuff is so deeply, I think as a horror fan, it's so tied into your DNA and the very fabric of who you are.
I did that with it was Freddy's Nightmares and Tales from the Crypt when it first started on HBO.
What, the real, like the original? The TV show Tales.
The TV show. Yeah. Because we had HBO and my parents thankfully would go to sleep early.
Yeah.
So I would sneak down because they'd show them pretty late.
Yeah, and they were really dirty, like a lot of
we had
the in Canada we had the censored Tales from the Crypt. I didn't even know there was boobs and stuff in that show.
Oh yeah, that was
pretty
intense.
It was all cut. Yeah, really lousy.
We were talking before about how you can't predict trends in horror, but I'm just curious, since you took over the magazine, what's been the biggest surprise in terms of a movie that became super successful?
Well, I said Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
And that was a huge one.
I'm shocked by that, by the way.
Yeah, and then just the fact.
No offense to anybody that likes the movie, because I saw it like a year before it came out.
Oh yeah,
and hated it.
Yeah, I know. I still don't like it.
I don't like it either.
I don't like found footage stuff. There'd been a couple ones, I think, prior to that were around. It was kind of a
Home movie was out.
Home movie had happened, but it was just like a little anchor.
And Poughkeepsie tapes was circulating. Nobody saw it, but yeah.
It was.
But none that reached the success of that.
No, I would never have anticipated that would have dictated the any kind of commercial drive for anybody that, it's interesting because, but what's really bizarre about that is that a movie that you and I could make with this, really, and now Hollywood is trying to capture that, genie in a bottle, and yet they're spending like millions or an exorbitant amount of money for something, and it's just like you're shaking your head and like, really?
Yeah, like the new Friday the 13th, for example, for whatever reason, fixating on making it found
It must be found footage.
They're
$13 million
way
found
too late out of the
footage.
gate, too. That's going to be a bomb the base, man. No, it's not going to work.
Well, there's something about the low-budget aesthetic of found footage when it first came on the scene that I think was scary with Blair Witch, especially.
Right, of course. I didn't even think about Blair
Yeah.
Witch, but
it was
didn't
scary
take
because
off,
you didn't. There's this line where you can almost fool yourself into thinking it's not a movie. Whereas now it's been when you put a $2 million found footage on screen, it's you're watching a movie
Or
from
you
the
throw
first
an
second.
actor that has who it is. I mean, as soon as you throw an actor with any kind of who's got it's baggage, right? It's like, well, that's the guy from this. Then it's clearly you're in an artificial environment. But I mean, that's what I want personally. That's what I want out of movies. To me, movies. And this is cliche, but they should be like a dream. They should be a fantasy. They should be an escape from whatever world we're in. And especially as I age too. I mean, I'm less inclined to watch movies where people get hurt just for the sake of getting hurt anymore because I know that I'm so surrounded by that. And to me, it's just like someone stepping on a bunch of flowers for the sake of doing it. And I like my horror to be jet black, dark, bizarre, psychosexual, as dirty and bizarre as they come. But to me, they got to go all the way. It's got to be really phantasmagorical and strange for me to connect with it anymore. Anything reality-based is not interesting to me anymore.
What about
I'm surrounded by reality TV and all this shit. It's like, and none of it's real anyways. So
Right. What about? I mean, you're talking about, say, torture porn, Saw, Hostel. What do you think? Kind of where's the death rattle in there for that trend?
Is it dead already? No,
I mean, they could be the concepts could be reinvented.
Yeah.
Like Saw could go on forever as long as somebody has an interesting idea.
I like to see the Saw movies. I'm okay with, and because I think they're interesting as kind of like a package, right? And at least they make some attempt to they have a mythology there,
and there's some mystery. And
there's mystery. They engage you on a different level, and there's just a certain kind of like you are literally playing some sort of game, and they are like a movement unto themselves. But like anything, like zombie movies, as you know, every weekend some guy's sending us a movie.
Every weekend we get like 10 a day.
Yeah, whatever. It's like a bunch of guys in their backyard with like ketchup on their face. Going, it's like, that guy made a zombie movie.
No
man.
plot.
Will Fango cover
no
it?
plot. But we get the same with the torture
The
films.
torture stuff too.
Where
it's
like no rationale.
Some guy goes to a strip joint and says, "Hey, listen, here's a couple bucks. Come back, take your top off, and I'm gonna tie you to a chair and duct tape your mouth, and then I'm gonna get my buddy over here to like giggle and snort over you while he smacks you around and stuff." And now we got a movie.
And wear a pig mask.
Yeah,
pig mask.
pig mask.
Every
We'll
one
put
of them.
Fucking pig mask on, and it's like a nightmare. It's scary. So, but they're cheap to make, easy to make, and just because you can make them doesn't mean you should. And there's a lot more, like the Saw movies actually exhibit some craft and some skill,
We always see that horror needs more Don Coscarelli. Like it needs more those guys who are like fantasists, people who went into this thing that was fantastique about movies. And I agree with
that's
them.
why I love European horror so much. Like it's my favorite thing in the world. We talk Suspiria being one of your favorites, Fulci being like one of my idols, and even the French like Jean Rollin, Jess Franco is probably my favorite.
Well, and you made your own film recently, and was that something you were always
films,
looking to do, or was that something that more recently you became interested in?
Yeah, no, I went to film school, but I kept dropping out because it's like I didn't like people telling me what art was and stuff. And then I started doing music, so the movies were just an excuse to make images to accompany music I'd made, really. And I kind of compartmentalize that away from Fango a lot because they're kind of arty, and I like Lars von Trier and stuff, so they're kind of pretentious, and
I know the feeling on this show.
Yeah,
I get shit from these two all the time.
I love that to me, but that's the weird, and they're kind of weird. In the first watch, maybe you don't like them so much, and that's my favorite movies. I've seen so many movies that are my favorite movies that I've seen them once, and I'm like, well, I'm not sure about that. But I can't stop thinking about it. I go back again, or I catch it at 2 in the morning, and you see little bits or some piece of music that's stuck in your head, and those are the ones you keep going back to.
Cronenberg's films often were like that.
Oh, yeah.
I saw Dead Ringers at
when I
maybe
was a
8
kid,
years old.
and it didn't hit you.
Repulsed. I didn't know what I was looking
but
at.
also dull. Like
Yeah.
you couldn't engage. Even The Exorcist, when I saw it as a kid, and it was the cut version, so your mother scrubbed socks in hell. She didn't suck cocks. But I didn't get why everyone was so like, this is scary. It's like, this is a bunch of people. The movie's really dark. Like, not dark and thematically, it was just darkly lit, so it's kind of muddy, and people just walking around having these overlapping conversations, and it's just like, what? And then I saw The Omen, I'm like, now that's my movie, because there's crazy dogs running around like cemeteries and shit, and David Warner's head comes off with a piece of glass. But then I went back to The Exorcist only recently, only like a few years ago, and watched it again as an adult, and I totally understood what that movie is and why it works. And I agree. I've drank the Kool-Aid, Gooble Gobble, and one of you, because I really do believe that's probably one of the greatest horror films ever made, ever.
You know, that's one for me that has scared me so bad. I've only seen it maybe 2 or 3 times in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I'd like to revisit it now as an adult and really appreciate it. But do you have a film that you have been scared to go back to?
Yeah.
I'll give you my Antichrist.
Antichrist.
Yeah,
Seen it
fucking
once.
Antichrist. It's on my shelf still in plastic.
I thought you loved that one.
Oh, I do.
I
but
know.
I can't watch it. I'm afraid to watch it again. I was so... has anyone seen the movie Antichrist? It's Lars von Trier. Huh? Yeah, Willem Dafoe and Charlotte Gainsbourg.
Chaos
Trying to fuck the
A lot
pain
of
away.
penises.
Yeah, and
And
then
the
she
fox,
cuts
talking fox.
her own clitoris off. But I mean, that's not it. It's like, especially as a parent, I have kids, and at the beginning, there's a devastating sequence where the child falls out the window and dies, and then she just goes crazy. So it's hyper violent, just a really alien, awful, and grisly experience, but yet so compelling and interesting. But man, it's not a movie on a Sunday afternoon. You're gonna go, I'm gonna pop up Antichrist.
There's so many
Break out some
movies that I
beers.
have in my collection that I will never watch again because I don't need to.
Your Cannibal Holocaust is another one too.
yeah.
I mean, I don't just pop up Cannibal Holocaust. I like the music. I listen to the score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Martyrs is like that for me.
Oh, yeah, that's another one,
Inside, we've talked about before. These are movies that I love, I respect. They will stay in my collection just
they're
because I have such
masterpieces.
respect.
Yeah.
But I can never watch
They're
them
not
again.
fun, no. But that's power. I mean, you respect like the Fred Vogel movies, August
August
Underground.
Underground.
We put Fred on the cover of Gore Zone 30, and even the cover I had trouble looking at. I'm like, oh,
It's
wow.
gritty.
Whoa, wow.
Yeah.
But I respect Fred. I think Fred is an amazing guy, and he's done something very important. There's a power that those August Underground movies have, but I don't like them. I don't enjoy them. You know. So yeah, I'm afraid to go back to Antichrist.
Sometimes, for me, sometimes it's I just don't want to shatter the memory of it. So for me, the movie is The Entity. I saw it once as a kid, scared the absolute shit out of me, and now I own it. But it's like I'm kind of scared because like maybe it's not as scary as I remember.
yeah,
you know what I mean? There's that
It's-
fear.
It is.
Maybe,
It's
you
still
know.
as intense. I mean,
Really?
It's so. I mean, it's so sexual. I
Yeah.
mean, they're blowing. I mean, she's naked and they're like blowing air guns on her. It really looks like hands are on her
Yeah.
flesh.
Yeah.
And this is Barbara Hershey. This isn't just some B-grade actor.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
and I
crazy.
think it's a terrifying film. The second half becomes more of like an investigation,
poltergeist
more
thing,
of a
yeah.
more
Yeah.
of a poltergeist thing.
Plus the mystery of like that Barbara Hershey never talks about the movie. It could be as simple as she just had a terrible time making it.
Yeah, it
But
was
when
just
you
a
have
really
like this
bad
weird
shoot.
ghost story,
But
and,
also,
yeah.
it was kind of like I didn't hear a lot about The Entity for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like I know it came out. It was always on TV when I was a kid, but I never really heard a lot of horror fans talking about The Entity. It was only like in the last 5 years. I think people really kind of maybe rediscovered it.
Yeah.
And talk a lot about how powerful that movie is, and it is. Yeah.
I once interviewed Barry Taff, the actual guy that investigated the real case on the
whatever her
Entity,
name is,
actually
yeah.
for Chris Gaetano's Montauk Chronicles thing.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I don't really believe in the supernatural, but weird shit happened when he was around.
Yeah.
Like stuff with the candles in the background.
Yeah.
It's just I feel like some of those dudes that are really into it, they just exude that kind of aura.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, I'm glad to talk to you for an hour, but you have to leave now.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
There's just
Whatever
some
you
sort of
brought
weird
here, I don't
voodoo
want it to
there,
stay.
some bad mojo.
Are you a scaredy cat in that sense? I always find horror, you're one or the other. You're somebody who, like, if you went into a haunted house, you'd piss your pants and couldn't last 5 minutes. Or
Yeah,
you're someone
I
who
am actually, I
chases
am.
that stuff.
I do definitely chase it, but I don't like. I mean, there's this thing. I guess they have them all over the place, but people are sending me locally in Toronto. There's one of those overnight camping excursions where people dress up like zombies. It's like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
won't sleep all night. I got 3 kids. I don't sleep anyways. It's not an appealing come on for me. But the fact that some dudes or zombies are going to be terrorizing my ass all fucking night in the woods. I mean, I'm the one. I don't want to do that. There was used to, those haunted
That sounds
houses.
awful.
Yeah, they
That
had
sounds
one.
awful.
They had one in LA, and they actually advertised that they would wake you up in your sleeping bag, but you couldn't
pull you
open
out,
your
yeah.
sleeping bag. And I was like, "That sounds horrible,
Don't touch
guys."
me. Come on. And then even like, in Canada, we have the Nightmares Fear Factory. It's, those haunted houses where you walk in, it's pitch black. You follow a little dot around while doors close and slam and people grab your ass and stuff. I mean, when I was younger, I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. Now it's like, no, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, if you have to
I know
sign a
I'm
release form,
almost
it's a bad
40. I
sign.
will have a
Yeah.
heart attack. I will die. So, yeah, on that level, no. But I think now it's just I want not necessarily to be scared. I want to be reinvigorated. You know, and the fear is part of that experience. I mean, I know a lot of people, there's a bizarre backlash against James Wan's movies, Insidious, whatever, but I did see that by myself at the Toronto Film Festival. And there was a moment where, in parts were silly, the ghost hunter bits, and they would drag me out of it, but then there are these moments, and that's what you live for when you're a horror fan, is those moments where I could feel like I breathed in, I could feel like chills just going up, and that I haven't had that in years. I was like, okay, well, no matter what happens from here on in this movie, I love this movie because it did that to me.
Yeah,
you know?
I think that's the hunt for us, especially as kids, because of how impressionable horror is. I remember when we had Savage Steve Holland, our best non-horror guest.
Yeah, he was amazing.
And that's what he was saying. He's like, he'd get up when he was a kid to watch, these B movies, because there's always at least one cool moment, a cool scare, a cool monster.
You have to be really
something.
you have to be really forgiving as a horror fan too, because let's face it, a lot of horror movies are not amazing. They're I mean, everyone loves H.G. Lewis movies. Like, they're not good. They're not well made, but there's those amazing moments, right? That you forgive all the trespasses that may
just to watch
lighting,
them.
boom, might comes in, whatever. You don't care.
But then they're going to crush a guy with a rock, and it's all worth
and
it.
then a banjo's going to play. I mean, it's like, wow, this is great. So you have to be to be a happy horror fan, you have to be very forgiving. And that's another thing that's a strange phenomenon these days. When I was a kid, there was a real sense of quest. And today, I think there's just so much, and it's so readily available that you don't have that. And I think a lot of people are crossing their arms, saying, okay, do it for me, do it. And they don't work with the movie, and that they're grumpy. I think you're bound to be disappointed. Everyone wants to be disappointed, so they can go to the internet and say what a piece of shit that is. And, it's just like, I think horror fans were happier when I was a kid. Yeah. We liked what we didn't get a lot, and when we got it, we were happy.
I think found footage is part of that. I think found footage is actually an easy thing to consume. Yeah. I think it doesn't take much work because it's a limited perspective anyway.
And you never revisit it. You don't watch it again. It's a one-time go.
There's not a lot of ambiguity. It's not being constructed by a filmmaker using different various shots and techniques.
I would disagree with that on marked ones.
Yeah, marked ones was fun. That was probably
the
best I'd seen in a while.
first found footage film I've seen in a long time where I actually felt like they wanted it to have some type of spark and set design and style to it. It wasn't just, hey, we can shoot it in my house.
Right.
It's,
upper
middle class America suburb.
The Rec series are totally different.
Yeah, the Rec series.
Especially the third one. I mean, I love the third one so much.
Yeah, the second one scares the shit out of me, no matter how many times I watch it.
It's just crazy.
But talking about an audience having to work a little, and obviously Under the Skin is one of those kind of films.
Yeah, you got to work. And it's funny, I almost walked out of Under the Skin while I was watching it.
I have a feeling I'm going to.
Yeah, but
I see it.
You don't, because it just keeps turning weird corners, and then you just keep going. And by the end, you're so glad that you stayed with it, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, anyone seen Under the Skin here? I'm just curious. Yeah, a couple people.
Yeah, you got to work, right? It's not an easy, and you can't be like texting while you're watching it. You have to immerse yourself in this alien world and follow this woman around, right?
Yeah,
there's amazing. It's an experience, and I think that's what I'm looking for in genre movies now. Is like, take me to another world, trap me there for 90 minutes, 2 hours, and make me come out a little bit different.
Yeah, with Under the Skin, I was telling him it's just I was miserable watching it and not having a good time at all.
And the music,
and thinking, I hate this.
The music is daring you to stay with it too.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Tonal and
once it was over, and I thought about it, I'm like, well, that's kind of horror. You're showing me something that's just.
And the worst reaction is, fans are like, well, it didn't make any sense. I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't have to. When you have a nightmare, does it make sense when you wake up? Did it make sense that that's your mom, but it's not your mom? It's like, someone's got a head this big. It makes sense when you're in it. And then you come out of it and you're like, none of it made any sense, but that does not, there's a certain power there, right? And I love that. Remember Silent Hill the first time I saw it, people shitting on it because it was a video game adaptation. It's like, well, so what? I mean, we don't shit on comic book adaptations, but I felt like I was trapped in this crazy world for 2 hours, and it scared the hell out of me until the end when they tried to explain it all.
Yeah. And then it's
like, well, don't explain it. I like the fog. I like the siren comes up. Some dude shows
Weird
up.
Creatures.
Totally lack of logic, and then at the end they gotta tie it all in there. And
well, that's how the fog works. Speaking of fog, I mean, Carpenter's Fog, we just rewatched recently, the Scream Factory release, and it's like a nice, perfect little realized nightmare.
Yeah, it is.
For all these characters.
It's a perfect little movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't go too far in any direction. It just stays the course, and it's back in the days when John would just let his music just be the gel, It's so good.
Yeah. I wanted to touch upon, you were saying how horror was different for us as kids. I mean, for Fangoria, the terror teletype was the first thing I'd look at.
Yeah.
Now it's like that's
it's
the
all
news.
Yeah.
But I was telling Elric, because he's never really been to a convention like this one, like a traditional convention. And I was trying to explain to him what the Fangoria Weekend of Horrors were like when I was 15 in New York. I mean, you'd get there early just to see the trailer reel. I mean, now you go on Apple or your phone or whatever, but that was like you had to get there early to see trailers to maybe the next Nightmare on Elm Street or whatever.
Yeah.
But being in Canada, I mean, was there anything like the Fangoria Weekend of Horrors? What was the convention?
No, we did have a
Weekend
Weekend of Horrors. We had one, Fango. Came up and did one in Toronto, and then maybe one out west. I don't know, but no one came to it.
Huh.
My recollection it was a really sparsely attended thing.
We only did it for 2 years.
Yeah.
But you went.
Oh yeah, did you? Yeah.
Oh no, I did
I'm
not.
asking
You did.
No, I didn't. I just remember the buzz around it. People I know that did go said it was pretty dead, and that's why it never took off. It never happened again. And then this is Toronto we're talking about. And Toronto is kind of like a weird town. It's cool, but it's very elitist. And horror doesn't seem to really fly in there. We got Rue Morgue there now. I wrote for those guys for 7 years. And I think that changed everything, I'm nothing against Rue Morgue at all, because if it wasn't for Rue Morgue and what I was doing there, I wouldn't be sitting here. But Rue Morgue's presence in the city and being a really kind of waving the Canadian flag, because that's the reason Rue Morgue stays alive, is that I don't know if anyone knows this. Does anyone read Rue Morgue? Yeah? Okay, so they are funded partially by the government. That's why you see like a lot of Canadian content in there and everything, because they have to get there. In Canada, you can, as long as you run 2 issues, you're entitled to the Canadian Periodical Fund, which pays for 50% of all your production costs.
Wow.
So, but they really rode that to the bank, and now, we talk about these these movies that are shot in Canada again. There's a bit of a renaissance in Toronto for horror. But back then, when I was a kid, it was a tumbleweeds rolling by, and you were just the lone man, God's lonely man.
So then what's the convention experience like for you? I mean, there were a few.
This one's great.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I've been to a few. I feel like I'm trapped in the worst mall ever. But, I'm a little tired by day 3 no matter what. But this one's freaking amazing. There's so many amazing people. Everyone's so friendly. And what's funny is that, you're different. You're out there you're on the front lines, right?
I carry a machine gun and fired at
I'm
the
in
Fango
I'm in
booth.
Toronto
That's
in my mad lab, and my kids are running around me, and I got like 5 computers on the go, and I'm in my freaking silk robe. I mean, to me, none of it's actually even real. And then every month a box of magazines comes to my door, and I say, okay, I kind of made this or whatever, right? But it's not real. And then like this weekend, you get together, people like, hey, and then they remember things you wrote, or they ask you questions about this, and they sign and stuff, and it's like, oh my God, it is real. You're interacting with that environment, and it's really surreal for me. So I have a great time on that level. Yeah.
That is one of the nicest things with Fango is that we interact with the fans all the time, but we never really interact with them because it's always just email. And emails, like hundreds upon hundreds of emails a day. I'm not kidding.
Just words, just little bugs on screen.
Yeah, so like 90% of my day is just responding to emails. Yeah. And then I come here and I actually realize that I do a job because there's something being done and it's getting to people and it's resonating with people.
But you guys too. I mean, the first day we came here, you got your killer. You're still a presence in LA. Everyone knows what you do, and you talk about your work. But you got fans coming up to you.
Yeah,
so you got people from
one of them is shooting this right now.
Yeah, one of them's filming us.
They make you posters and stuff.
Another one drove us to barbecue yesterday. John, right here. I mean, it's something that keeps you doing it because we're not being paid when we do our show.
Yeah. We're in a little room in Van Nuys, which is a really shitty part of Los Angeles, and we do this once a week, just rambling, thinking no one listens. So it's been amazing, the people that showed up here and that have come to the Fango table and taken us to barbecue really cool. or printed up posters and stuff. It's cool.
Yeah.
But it's really, genuinely important to hear what people like about what you do so as you can keep doing or keep changing or
you
stay interested.
Yourself, right?
Yeah,
you totally second guess
yourself. Because otherwise we wouldn't do it just for the 3 of us. If it's just a vacuum,
We would do this at the bar.
Yeah, I make fun of Becca all the time. I don't need the show to do it.
He does, I must say. Not successfully.
Not that successful. That's true.
So thanks to those people, and if you're not familiar with it, you should definitely check it out.
We have some postcards up here.
Well, before we part, guys, do we want to open it up to some fan questions?
Yeah, totally.
Since it's the first time we've ever done a live show, we thought we would end the day with fan questions.
It doesn't have to be just for us.
For anything, for Chris, for otherwise. So, yeah.
And
does
be
anybody
brave.
have anything?
Who's here for the ogre panel?
Oh, is that next?
Ogre panel. Can join.
Okay,
Join is next in here? Oh, okay. What the hell's the ogre panel?
Yep, there's a question.
Yeah, that was a real.
I liked it.
Yeah, but it was weird. They didn't press screen that thing. It looked
They
like
did. There were press screens.
okay,
for it.
so not in Toronto. We didn't get it. They did press screen it in Toronto, but it was the night before it opened, so they didn't want any reviews.
Yeah.
And
we're going to have to. I'm sorry. I have to. That was my board guy reminding me I have to repeat the questions because no one can hear you. The question was, what is a movie that has surprised us? And Dark Skies is a good one.
Yeah, it was weird. I didn't anticipate that the cast didn't grab me, whatever, and then it just kept getting darker and darker, and then it ends like it ends, and it's just like, wow, this is a really. Yeah, it's
a fan is saying that
decent
he's seen
movie.
it. No, the way that, and it was really bizarre. I'm not too sure why Blumhouse did this with it. They did a press screening in LA, but they selected maybe 5 people and invited them and called it the press screening. And I had gotten an invite, but I was doing something else that day, so I talked to the 4 people who did go. And they were all like, yeah, it's a pretty cool movie, but Blumhouse, they don't even know when they're going to release it yet. And that was like 6 months before the movie came out. And so by that time, we'd all forgotten about it. And then it just it happened. And then we discovered it on DVD. And I have a show where I talk about how phenomenal it is. But yet there's one of our fans, Dick Groner, I'm sure you're listening, who thinks it's horrible. And he was like, why did you recommend this to me, Becca?
But a surprise has to be that kind of movie. It has to be one that some people won't like. Like Lords of Salem was so polarizing. And so I stayed away from that for probably almost a year.
I think that's his best movie.
And I found it really mesmerizing. Yeah. But most people, especially friends I admired, all hated it. So I was like, okay, I can wait for that one.
Yeah.
I found it without any buzz, without knowing much about it. When I finally watched it, it was a different movie.
I find that movie's there's these movies that are an intimate experience. Just be you in the movie. Mm-hmm. You have to watch it at a certain point where it's just the two of you. You're not distracted. You're out of that where it's not a buzz movie anymore, where that's over and you can just appreciate it for what it is as opposed to what people want it to be. Now, on that note, friends, I do have to go find Mr. Ogre because I have to find out where bring him to a panel to do with him, and I don't even know where it is. So I got to do some
other room.
Yes, it's the other room.
Giant room?
And I'm pretty sure all these people...
You're totally doing the giant room.
That's awesome.
Let's give Chris a big hand for joining us.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks to you guys for sticking with us for the first live podcast.
Yes.
Alrighty. What's next again? You said
Conjoined.
There you go. So that's obviously we're all here
if
for.
anyone's at all interested in what we do and what the show is, it's obviously a little different than this was. We've got postcards up here with links and everything. It's called Killer POV, and we record every week. Thanks
Free
for joining us.
Please check us out. Geek
Cool
Nation.
Next episode is next Wednesday.
Is that when we're having Brett from...
No, we've got someone.
We're having Hannibal on, aren't we?
Oh, okay. Oh, maybe we don't. Well, we just recorded one with the Excision director, Ricky Bates Jr. That was a lot of fun.
Bill Lustig's a great episode, too.
McGarris. There's a lot of good stuff.
Charlie
I think
Band episode,
58
episodes. So that's 58 times probably 2 hours of your life that you should go back and revisit immediately. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.